Expecting Abby and TJ.
Abby is back.
Okay.
Whether or not she's going to be here, I can't say, and I don't know about TJ. But wow, that's interesting. So we have everybody except those two. I'm calling this meeting of the Nantucket Historic District Commission to order. It is 4:33 on Tuesday, June 11th, 2019. Present at today's meeting are John McLaughlin, Stephen Welch, Diane Coombs, Val Oliver, Jesse Dutra, and myself, Ray Pohl. Well, there's actually nobody in the audience, so I think I can skip the, well, here we go. For anyone in the audience, if you want to record any portion of tonight's meeting on your own, let us know in advance. Thank you. Let the record reflect that Abigail Camp joined us back from her month-long retreat, new spiritual awakening. And the second thing is any conversations other than at this table should take place out in the hallway. Thank you. John, do we need to amend anything on this agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. May 5th under review minutes should be May 30th.
Thank you.
That's all from me.
Oh, under review minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, May 30th. Okay. All right. So if everyone's got that, could I please, Diane?
Yeah, approve, thing,
Minutes?
As amended.
as
As
amended.
amended. Very good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approve the agenda.
Yeah.
Then.
Any public comment? Hearing none, we will move along to our consent agenda. Val, you need to recuse.
Yep.
Ethan needs to recuse. So let's see. Val recuses, and 1, 2, 3, 4.
You need one alternate.
You need one alternate. So Jesse, you want to be the alternate?
Sure.
Okay.
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda 1 through 4.
Very good. Thank you, Diane. All those in favor?
You
Aye.
made it?
No. Okay. We're on to signs.
All right, quickly.
All right.
The consent I abstain.
Yes. Terry, did you get that? Mm-hmm. Thanks. Okay.
The wall sign at 34 Center Street, number 1, was recommended for approval.
Motion to approve number 1.
Oh,
Thank you.
Time out.
Okay.
I made a mistake. Number 1 is to be held.
Held.
Can you amend your motion,
Yeah.
Diane? Okay. Diane has
Number
made a
1
motion to.
before the signs is to be held.
Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Number 2 is approved.
no, that's cool.
So, I mean,
2 is approved?
2 is approved.
Motion
To
to
approve.
approve number 2.
number 2
Also at 34 Center
at
Street.
also, is that the new Petticoat, is that old Petticoat Road?
No, that is, was the former Daria Salon.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh,
is
down
now-
below.
is now going to be Center
Is
Point
it
Realty.
Oh, great.
Another
Another
real
real
estate.
estate.
Oh, enough real estate
All right.
comments.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is a motion on the
Lot to
table
look
to
at.
approve the sign.
We only approved the signs.
Not the business. Thank you, Kevin. All those in favor? What?
Also, one.
Aye.
No. Aye.
1 is on
Okay,
hold, 2 is
1
approved.
is held, 2 has just been approved, John.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? And now we're moving along
Thank
to
you very
old
much.
business, and of course,
Thank you.
to move forward
Thanks,
with
Jeff.
this, I'm going to need to have the boards, although I believe that the first 2 have not yet been heard. Is that correct?
They have not. I don't know if anyone's here. I think you can hear
He's
them.
never here.
You think so?
Can we hold those? Because those are.
Well, Tuckernuck met, the
Oh.
Tuckernuck Advisory Board.
And
met.
they said,
They said, well, if you want to open the applications, we sure.
is there a
They're-
reason that you didn't want to? Because these
Yeah, well, I
poor
think-
guys have been on for like a month.
Oh, yeah. Oh, all right. I just, I'm just.
They're going on sheds. Just for
Yeah,
Sheds.
Sheds.
yeah.
They still are visible. What does Tuckernuck say? Well, aren't reopening it.
Could we open it by just reading what they have to say without like passing out everything?
Why don't we want to
They
open
say,
it?
They
Well, I thought
say
you were concerned about the
approve
time.
shed solar panels in black or aluminum, no paint.
Oh,
Aluminum.
well, we could,
I'm guessing they
Sounds like
want
there's
all
gonna be
black
some
panels.
questions on that.
we could change that to just black.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Just too
It
black.
should say, I did try and, I wanted to get a little more information out of this one as far as the types of panels. You know, they didn't
Which is his house, John
supply
Finney?
a spec of the panels.
He's
Although
probably just.
I know they're gonna be
representing
all black, like the LG ones or.
All right, I would motion to hold for more information.
On
There's
the-
no point in us hearing it
Yeah.
if we don't have it all.
On the two Tucker Knock one.
Yeah.
and
Good
two.
enough.
Good, thank
Thanks.
Repeat
So
that, Ray.
we're gonna hold for more information on items 1 and 2, the Tucker Knock solar panels. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, how about 24 Clarendon?
A roof wall.
Anybody here for 24 Clarendon? Oh boy, it's gonna be a really short night.
Don't jinx it.
Why don't we
Set a
hold
goal.
that for rep, because, you know, people are,
Motion to
What
hold
is-
number 3 for representation.
thank you, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That was Val's motion.
Yeah, it was
Sorry.
actually Val's motion, because we do have a regular board here. So, yeah, hold for rep on number 3. How about number,
36 Poacher.
yeah,
I
color
got-
change.
Yeah, I got some more information out of them. I got the previous approval, which is all we were kind of looking for on this one.
okay.
Um,
And John, you'll need to remind me of the board.
It is Cole, Coombs, McLaughlin, Oliver, and Welch. So it's this house here.
Thank you.
This is the last house on the dead end Poacher, the right-hand side of Poacher, going down towards Surfside Beach, not that Poacher that goes out towards the airport.
It's right near the boulevard.
Yeah.
Oh, that end.
The house was approved with natural trim.
Yeah.
The sash is linen.
Is what?
Linen. which I'm guessing
Linen.
is a
Okay.
white.
Yeah.
And
This is what was approved, right, John?
correct. And originally the front door was approved as blue, and they want to switch to white.
And it was literally just the door, right?
Yeah, just switching
Everything
the
else
door.
is the same.
Oh, okay.
Front
what-
door from blue to white.
White to match the trim or just a blank of
Well, it kind of matched the window sash,
Which
Yeah,
is
the
linen.
linen.
but the
So
trim
Linen,
is
is that the
natural.
color we use?
so a linen white?
It's a little
They
off-white.
want
That's actually a Benjamin Moore color, so. that's-
It is. So it's called linen white.
and they want to switch to white.
White. Okay, that's also Benjamin Moore color.
Yeah, we could say,
So I think
that's a
if
little
you
creamier than that.
recall the application, it's kind of back behind some trees, the sighting of the whole.
Yeah, it's hard to see on that house.
All right. What do we say about a linen white front door on this?
I don't care.
Motion to
Okay.
approve is submitted.
All right. Unless there's any further comment on this, I'll take that motion. All those in favor of Stephen's motion to approve as submitted as linen white, right?
Well, it's just white.
What?
Benjamin Moore,
And it's submitted.
OC 151 white.
Plain white.
Okay, plain white. All right. Was that your motion, Stephen?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor of Stephen's motion?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. One down. How about
No.
25 Center?
They're not here, but it's another color change. Let's see. If you'd like to review it, it's not a.
Is there a
Has it been
picture?
heard before?
It has not been heard now.
Let's take a look.
Please stay with my screen. They want it in black.
It's still not-
And this is, they want to change from Essex green to black sash doors.
We've turned somebody down recently for black down there, so I would say let's be consistent.
Right,
Do you mean the one on, just curious, the discussion we had on Main Street?
Yeah.
but that black and stuff on the historic street is really not historic color combination.
Yeah, was it Butner's? I mean,
The one,
You're going back.
Was this a regression sabbatical you went on?
25 cents.
I'll tell you later.
What color do you want to change it to?
Black.
John, right now, the door and the sash are Essex green, I think.
Yeah, that's what they said.
Oh, HSAB said, please stick with Essex green.
Yeah.
So Essex green right now, they want to go to black.
Right.
Door and sash.
I said, but I don't think that it's appropriate on,
You think the Essex is more appropriate?
yes, on the center of our old historic district.
Okay. Val?
Yes, I think we need to keep it Essex green.
Okay. Abby?
Well, I'm not on it. I don't think.
No, it's new.
We never heard it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I keep with the Essex green too.
Okay. John, it seems like the consensus view is to keep it as Essex green rather than black. Are you okay with that? I
I
mean,
think there's another one across the street, but that's a side effect.
that's black
Oh,
A lot of those old places, yeah.
or black?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Then, we got homes with it, why can't they have it on commercial property?
Because it's in the old historic district.
Would they have used black paint 100 years ago?
What?
Would they have used black paint 100 years ago?
I think they may have. Yeah. It's a good question.
Because when your berries got old, they went black instead of red or blue.
They used Essex green really most of all, I bet you, if you look at all the old,
Because your
not
broccoli
on
color stays good for a long time.
right.
All right. Well, listen, can somebody make a motion
I
on
make a
this?
motion to approve as,
Comment. Yeah. John,
Yes,
on the color chart,
yes.
is there an Essex green approved for doors and sash?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the way it is now.
it's called Hussy green now.
No. It's available for permission today. Right, ask
Oh.
for it. Yeah. Okay, there's no, well, Hussy green, but there's no black.
Correct.
Authorized.
Hussey's the new name for Essex.
It looks like it's actually, I mean, if I may, Mr. Chairman, it looks actually darker than Essex.
maybe it's registration.
It-
We know,
Essex is
back when
pretty
I
darn
started
dark.
working out here, what they would do is they would take off the shelf Essex green and mix black in with it.
Ah.
So it turned it darker, obviously.
Why don't they do that?
I mean,
They
Essex
get
green would be-
both
But
nice
I believe that
compromise.
the motion has been made.
Yes.
Diane made a motion to stick with the Essex green.
Mr. Chair, do you want to just hold for representation or more information representation?
It's already approved as Essex green.
Right.
Yeah,
So potentially be
well,
denying it, but if they can,
so there's a motion on the table. We could always have a motion for representation.
right.
Diane, would you be okay with doing that? Motion for representation?
Yeah, I guess so if we have to.
Just so they can hear
I'm
our-
not gonna change my vote.
Or
No,
withdraw it.
So, whatever it is John wants us to do, I'll do. But I'm just telling you that I would not change my vote whether they're sitting
Okay.
here or not.
but I think because it's looking like basically we're turning it down, it would be good to have them present so at least
yeah.
they could hear the
Okay.
Why
discussion.
why don't you
So I revoke
revoke,
my,
and I'll make a motion
And
to
then-
hold for representation.
yeah,
Okay, very good. Abby's motion is to hold for representation. All those in favor?
I
Aye. Okay. Okay, Camp Murphy, your turn. Has this one, yeah, I'm pretty sure about that.
Good to see everybody
Has this
again.
one been, oh, so it has been heard.
It was held for viewing. I'm sorry if there was any confusion. It was 30th on the list, and like the old days, I thought you guys wouldn't get to it on
I'm not sure. Was this
I don't
last
think it was,
Tuesday?
I don't think it was opened.
I think
Yeah, it wasn't opened, it was.
I asked, Linda was here, and she kept texting me and saying it was going to be heard, so I asked her if she could
Okay, so.
ask it be held for a viewing, so I don't know if it was held for a viewing. No. So what we're doing is we're adding dormers to the front.
I just want to make sure everyone's clear. So, because this has not yet been opened, this is the regular board. Okay? Okay, Kent, go ahead.
I was so
Where is
confused
your
by this.
locus?
Yeah, I apologize for
You
that.
gotta have a locus plan, I don't even know where it is,
There was
what it's next to.
there was a locus map with the documents.
Yeah, but it was,
Here, I have it in a small
Washington
form.
is across the street from the
I
school
own
on Surfside Road.
that also.
so
Off
I,
the
It's in
Surfside.
Nashaqusett. It's on the main road in Nashaqusett. It's about halfway down Washington Ave,
Yeah,
past the original building and the tennis courts, and about a block past that.
I'll get you the locus in a second.
So there's front dormers and rear dormers. I'd like to address the front dormers first.
did you get one? No.
Although they're not really common, I have found historical precedent for the front dormers on second-story buildings. And I brought some photos of some of those. There's several of them on Pleasant Street. There's actually around the corner on Cato Lane, facing Cato Lane, there's these are literally third-story dormers, but they're
You wanna pass those
dormers on
around?
second-story structures. I'm gonna pass the comps for the front dormers first to avoid confusion. The Cato, wait a minute, that might be the wrong one. I'm sorry. Let me pass these first. Sorry about that. So these are the first one, those face Cato Lane. One of them is the front of a house and one of them is the back of the house. There's some third-story dormers on the front of the house on some homes in Pleasant Street. They all appear to be historical. So you've got shed dormers on the, literally third-story shed dormers on houses in Nashaqusett that face Cato Lane, and you have them in the downtown area, Pleasant Street, Cliff Road, Hussey Street. So I believe the dormers on the front are,
Are they looking at the same thing we're looking at on this side of the table?
no,
we don't have any pictures yet.
there's only one set of pictures that are going
And,
around.
and the first page of that just came over to your side of the table is, there's one on Cato Lane and the rest are in town. Did I say that right, Kent?
Yes. I'm just addressing the front dormers right now. I can address the,
Well, you should address it all, because
Okay.
you go first and then we're gonna give our comments.
so the rear, so again, the front dormers are not, extremely prevalent on the island, but they're not uncommon. And those photos show that on historical buildings and on Nashaqusett properties. Now, the rear dormers, again, atypical, but not completely unhistoric. Linda in conversation, Linda Williams happened to mention that these were dormers on top of dormers. The actual dormers that I'm proposing are in the main roof plane. And the reason they're even possible structurally without too much of a headache is there's a bearing wall that picks up the existing dormers on that roof plane and carries the load all the way down through structural walls. So adding these dormers are very simple to do structurally. But also, these dormers are historical because they're bringing light into, critical light into the areas on the third floor that we want to bring in light. And that's why dormers were around historically in roof planes. So I believe they're appropriate, although they are atypical. And there's another set of pictures here of atypical, and the first page is actually a picture of a dormer. It's not a second-story structure, but it's a structure where there's a shed dormer that actually, these dormers.
This is the one at the corner of High Street and
Yeah, what it's showing is kind of an angle change in a roof with a space between it where the dormer wall starts, and that's exactly what we have here. I purposely put a space in, so there was existing roof, so there was the regular roof pitch directly in front of the proposed dormer walls.
Okay.
Thank you, Ken. Did you want to go first?
Sure. I think that along with his pictures, you will see the pictures of the dormers. Almost all of them are single dormers, small single dormers on, particularly the one in 5 Fair Street has got a Dutch roof rather than a straight across roof. I think they're too heavy with 3 panes of glass in the top of the buildings. All the buildings on Washburn are not huge. They tend to be 2-story or 1.5 stories. And he's got, I just think that's too much dormers up on the 3rd floor. I think that the dormers on the rear, you've got dormers, so you're going to have dormers on top of dormers. I think that there are too in the rear. I think if he could knock them down to 2 windows, separate them so that it's not so many windows up on the roof. Too much.
It's in the front, you'd like less windows, is that what you're saying?
Both.
Yeah, it's too, I think it's too heavy. It's the roof isn't that big, and those are big dormers. All those pictures you have, I don't think there's.
Yeah, I put a lot of windows in them because, I mean, the guidelines say that dormers were for letting light in and were a lot of windows, so that's why
All right, so
I did that.
let's everybody make their comment
Yeah.
and then you can say something.
Okay. Val.
I think that you could have dormers on the front of this building, maybe bringing them in so they're the edges are closer to the windows. You know, getting rid of the cheek walls might help. I don't know that I mind the 3 windows. I'd have to drive through there again and see, but just kind of scale them down. And on the rear, I have never seen anything like this. I know you're in a conundrum situation, but I think you're gonna have to rethink this. Maybe you could build some sort of a gable mass in the back, at least on part of it. Yeah, well, those are still huge dormers, but you know what I mean? Like, get rid of part of the roof and.
Open dormers so you don't have
Right.
dormers on dormers.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. Abby.
I agree with what's been said. I could go for 1 window in the 3rd story, such as the examples you sent around, but I think a triple ganged in, it's just too heavy, as my colleagues have said, and I think the back is too unusual. I just have never seen anything like that.
Thank you. John?
Yes. Myself, I think it's overpowering, too much. And there are places that have them, and a lot of them, and I know where they are, that have dormers on the third double section, is they built there before the HDC, a lot of them. So I'm going from my memory box, and yeah, I don't think it'd be appropriate to start pushing these around. You got enough there, you got 35 windows in this structure, which is overpowering in visually, I think. So that, I don't think you should be any more than one set of dormers on a typical Nantucket house. These here are way out of order. I think there's too many. I think you gotta get rid of them, not even approve them. It's a double standard there. I think.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Yeah. I have a question.
Sure.
Does this lot actually have both of those houses?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
And this is a lot, but these are,
All right. But we are talking about
Correct.
that. All right. So, if there's going to be any dormer on the front at all, I think that it should be a single dormer, kind of like that. Two single dormers like that. Or like this. And I have less of an issue with the ones on the back than the other board members have, simply because I don't think they're going to be visible. So, do we want to have some revisions on this guy?
Motion to hold for revisions.
Very good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thanks,
You
guys.
can see the back
you think
of
you
that
can?
building. Going up a top, Scott, it's the back
Okay.
of the.
Well, I'll
you can
check
see
it
it
out.
from you can see it from the side, going up tops.
You can see the back from the side.
You can see it from the side.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm just saying.
Oh, I did my,
All right, so
Love you.
I wasn't even looking for that, you stole it. Oh, that's right.
I gave it back to you, so that's not skin.
That's very kind.
Where were you? I like that shit.
yeah, that's it's my project. Botticelli.
Nice.
It's plastic,
Well, he's trying to get it,
so it doesn't wear.
Synthetic material.
It doesn't weather.
he's trying to get
It's just you
approved
and her.
as a blanket, a programmatic improvement for anywhere on the island.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's one more.
Where were the third floor
Need a lot of
examples? I didn't.
They're in that.
Yeah.
So,
It's not my book.
who's our board on this one?
Cole, Coons, McLaughlin, Oliver, and Welch. Alternate, Dutra. Camp, accused.
Oh,
Well, I think you thought you were going to go on vacation.
oh,
But
right,
this is
right.
only the second time this has been back, so we jumped it.
Not much happened while you were away.
Yep. I did see that this was on potentially the view list, so I hope some of the board members had an opportunity to go check it out. This looks like an old.
What is that?
What's the next page look like?
This has received May 1st.
Yeah, this is the previous. Oh,
It was 1 3
I think the
well,
site
the
plan
second
on the
page.
top.
Okay, I'm not sure why this was on there.
I think you failed to submit an updated site, another site plan on that. That was just kind of the locus. Well, technically that is a site plan.
That is the site plan. Yeah. So I tried to overlay the aerial on the site plan just to give you a better sense. But if people went out there, that's great too. We proved the main house. Yeah, correct. So I do think visibility is extremely limited from Pippin's Way, where it's I think it's about 450 feet from the road, and it's behind the trees that you can see in the photo. From the road on the back, which is like South Valley.
Oh, yeah.
It's just not visible at all because there's you come down that road, it's super tight in there,
gigantic
and there's
marsh.
a huge berm, and there's no way to see anything.
All those pictures.
Well, right.
Well,
but
this is on the
isn't-
other side. You're
Correct.
talking about the view from Pulpus Road,
600 feet.
right?
Yeah.
So those, Val, are the ones on the other side of Pippin's Way next to
Gotcha.
the farm. This is down closer to, it's further north, so it's right down by the pond.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
The old
it's really
Crosby barn used
closer to
sit.
Gardner and South Valley. Now, that all being said, we did make some revisions. We reduced, particularly on the north side, reduced the glazing, got rid of a bunch of gained windows. We fixed the lights and the little 4-light sashes to make them more vertical. And also, we reduced the height by about 15 inches. That was a major concern. We
did that by reducing the pitch?
We changed the whole kind of pitch around to make it fit a little bit nicer. And just the result of that was getting it lower.
I just wonder what.
Okay, and
Double hung.
this was all natural. right?
Correct. It's all natural weather. I think we've got red for the sash.
All right.
Just kind of continuing the army sort of feel.
Mr. Chairman, you made a comment last time that there's a drafting error that would result in leaky doors.
We fixed that, so we added the
So-
overhang for the at the eave
Yikes.
because it was real tight before, so that we shouldn't have any,
What
shouldn't have
was
any
that
leaky
all
doors.
about? I don't
Thanks for
remember
putting that
that.
on the official record too.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice.
Funny.
It is in the, well, maybe it's not in the purview, I suppose.
Yeah.
We don't want.
I
leaky doors.
appreciate the professional advice.
Yeah, wow, I don't remember that at all. Okay, so, anybody ready?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Am
you're
I on it?
Yeah, you're on it.
I have no concerns.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else ready?
Am I on it? You said alternate, dude. Right?
You're an alternate, but everybody else is here.
Okay.
John, you ready?
Yes.
See, it's
This is
confusing.
sliding door.
This is
Correct. Yeah,
actually-
there's a big sort of sliding door that will cover the front entry. It'll probably be open most of the time.
Oh.
I had a question. This is the new bond board.
It's
Right.
vertical. Yep. Vertical
Right.
board.
Make it all vertical. So all the shingles here.
So we just put the shingles on the wart on the side, kind of as it's just sort of a different kind of tacked on element. But I mean, I don't
If
think
you're
they're
over here, you can see both of them, right?
correct.
I actually like John's idea.
All board. I mean, I don't think the owner's gonna be concerned with
Make it
that.
all
So.
bond board or all shingles. It keeps it a little Nantucket.
I like it.
We'll go with the board.
Okay,
Very smart.
thanks, John.
Where is the driveway, Ethan?
So the driveway is actually off Pippin's. You can see in the satellite photo where it's already cut in. And what's kind of cleared now, that's basically the limit of their allowed sort of area to touch. The rest is an easement by the land
yeah.
council, I think.
It runs along the southwest edge of the property.
Yeah.
That white, that little white thing?
Correct.
Hey,
This little
Diane.
arm that kind of comes on Pippin's.
Right along the property.
Right along here. That's
Okay.
basically it.
I wasn't sure whether it was seen
So
here.
this is here?
Correct. Yep.
What?
And
What
this
is
is the
this?
barn?
This is the GIS doesn't have the property correct. So this
mortified.
actual area is
Mortified.
the actual
And they're
property,
awful.
also shown
Yeah.
in magenta on the locus.
Which one is the barn?
The barn's this way.
It is that one?
Yep.
Okay.
We approved it.
Yeah, and the house.
How far apart is it?
The buildings?
Yeah.
They're like 200 feet
Okay.
apart. Yeah.
Very contentious.
Well, were you asking me or did you ask?
No, I wanted to hear from
Oh.
you. I was just telling Sarah that we already approved her project.
I appreciate the reduction of windows if this is really gonna be a barn.
It's not house.
It's a house. But
And the only reason I'm not complaining about all the gained windows is that you won't, I don't think you'll see it. But other than that, it's very much like the house in its shape, so here you are.
Okay, thank you. Val?
I guess it's okay if it's like 200 feet away. I think my concern initially was the size of this with the size of the house in terms of height. But
Oh.
I don't remember how big.
we actually dropped it. The overall ridge height's about dropped it 15 inches. I think it's like 25.7 now. The
Right.
house is like 29 and change. So that we
Just
did
remember when you
reduce
do
it.
garages, it's supposed to be 22 unless they have an apartment up above it.
And this barn board is natural to weather, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm good with it.
Okay, I'm fine too. Now, so the only stipulation I think we want to put on, oh, John, did you have more?
I missed something, I had a comment.
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
All right, the other one is, on your nomenclature here, you have E windows, not a lot of them, but you got them. And they're on it.
Should make them fixed.
Over here it says fixed glazing, it doesn't say fixed windows. The glass, all glass is fixed.
That's a very good point. Yes, the sash should be fixed. I'll make sure that's updated.
So we'll put that in by way of clarification.
Circumvention.
So it sounds like we want to make a motion to approve this with the little wart being vertical board, just like the rest.
Oh, yeah, I already said that.
And to clarify that, is it the E windows?
Correct. The E and the C.
E and C windows will be fixed sash. All right, can somebody give me that motion?
So moved.
Thank you,
The
Diane.
wart is barn boards.
Correct.
And what was the window?
E and C windows would be fixed sash. All those in favor of Diane's motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Very good, thanks.
Like a purple shirt.
Good job.
Thank
Might
you.
be leaky windows if it wasn't fixed.
I know.
Everybody's wearing purple today.
Water coming in everywhere.
No, I'm not.
Purple,
I know.
purple. And I love that tie.
Thank you.
Nice tie.
It's really cool. Is it
Nice.
Liberty? Is it like
Tie
Liberty?
Tuesday. I decided on Tuesdays I'm gonna wear my Rooster and Garcia ties because I never wear them.
Jerry Garcia ties.
What, is that a rooster? and-
This is a Rooster.
Do you know that?
Murray's sell. I don't know if they still sell.
It's very pretty.
Could we borrow her for a second? Okay.
I have a date. I can't because Robin can't come.
All right.
This is what happened with the zoning board.
What?
Who can't come?
Robin.
Is that a cliffhanger? I don't know. I don't know
No,
the
it was
story.
just, it was just so upsetting that she's sworn off public meetings for all
But I
time.
thought we were going in a good direction here.
We are going
We are,
in a
this,
good
that was a
direction.
separate thing. That was a
Is this
separate
that
thing.
thing next to me?
Yes.
Cole, Coombs, Camp, Welch, and Dutra.
Oh, I'm not on it?
Cole, Coombs, Camp, Welch, Dutra.
You haven't seen this since I got you.
Apparently not. I don't really remember.
You were here last time and then there were only 2 people here, so it's actually more of a board.
Yes,
Sorry about that.
right.
No worries, I'm glad you were having fun.
Oh, yeah, I really
Let's
was.
take
Oh,
a look.
all right. Can you take a look then?
Let's see what's going on.
So this is the big garage duplex on
Oh,
Surfside.
yeah, right.
We've come through a few times trying to reduce and accommodate everybody's desire to see less of a building on the street side with more sort of street presence. I think this time I've done quite a lot. The whole front duplex has been reduced in width on the second floor by 6 feet to bring the whole ridge down and really sort of talk to the neighbors of one-story buildings. They are garages on the ground floor, so that ground cover really can't change much. With that front duplex, we've turned it from a very useful 2-bedroom apartment to basically a studio apartment, which is kind of a bummer because it's less obviously accommodating to anybody who wants to use it. But the idea of this is for small business owners who have truck kind of businesses can park and live up top or have their employees live up top. But so I feel like we've given a lot to accommodate everybody. We've pushed it back from the road a little bit more than it originally was, and addressed the front door issue. I think it's successful now. What else did we do? I think, well, I guess just looking at the pictures and the the previous applications on the elevations have reduced.
Sarah, do you have anything to add?
No, I mean, I guess the only thing I would say is, I really am aware of the concerns that the commission has. At the same time, we're coming right down the street in a line of long buildings. I think this building is not even as long as the neighbor now. Right?
Right.
Just about the same length as the neighbor.
Yep. Which is also our property owner's building.
Right.
And then the Muse as well. It's a little bit shorter than the Muse next door. I actually did a little better of a site plan to show it. If you want to pass it around, I only have one, but just to show the massing on the locust plan blown up. Our little building is in between those two.
That one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the Muse, obviously.
The pencil one.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Can you set?
Oh, sorry, here you go, my bad.
Can I start?
Yeah, please.
I don't have a problem with, I think you've done a lot to change this, and I think on Surfside Road, this reads as a smaller building, and I think you've succeeded in making the massing, do the reverse telescoping, which I think is good for the neighborhood, because they're, it's mixed. And it's just one question on these A windows and in other places. Why don't the windows, like the trim, go right up to the fascia? Is there a reason that you have a little strip of?
It's just our plate height. I'm dealing with some Huntington Home kind of numbers.
Okay, I was worrying about the shingle art, making those tiny little.
Thanks. Maybe we could just add a little bit.
One shingle course, yeah.
But so I think it's successful.
Maybe I could add a heavy fascia.
Yeah, maybe.
Is it painted trim?
Yes, we're actually going to paint it. Where is the application? She changed from natural to painted, and it's like a gray, Nantucket gray.
You know what? I mean, my own view, don't put the heavy fascia in it, because it's gonna just make everything look bigger, bulkier.
Okay.
Thank you, Abby
Abby.
Camp.
Abby.
All right, who wants to go next?
I'll go if you want.
Diane?
I appreciate that it is at least some shorter. I appreciate that the front part with the garages is looking at it, is at 23 feet. Tell me what that building is classified as. Is it classified separate from the back building, and this is a garage with an apartment?
They're both garage apartments, so it's a duplex garage apartment. So
that one is.
They both are.
And
yes.
this is?
And the rear is the same thing.
But does it have a garage?
Yes, the garage doors are facing the rear of the building and the back of the property.
Oh.
Because we were trying to not have so many garage doors on that face that
Yeah,
would be.
no, I agree. I didn't.
If you look on the rear
Yeah,
elevation,
there they are. I see.
Yeah.
I would like, I think I mentioned this once before, is to separate those buildings, those windows on the west elevation so that they spread out a little more
On the second floor,
on the
Diane?
second floor.
On the second floor. Well, I reduced that second floor by quite a lot, so the windows got a little closer to each other.
Yeah.
That's why I brought them together a bit. I can separate them a little
If you
bit
can,
more.
I just think it would make
Yeah, I can do that.
a more decisive front. And the roof is going to be what color?
Gray.
Gray, because you're next to the
I'm assuming a dark gray.
the house with the red roof, which
Yeah.
the people would like to remain the red roof. So
Well, if you prefer light gray, I don't think
Maybe
my
gray
client
would-
has
would,
like a serious preference.
We could do either color, I would say,
Yep, definitely.
which is better with the red.
Black and red are historic. Matches.
Just, what was red?
What?
What was red?
The neighbor.
The neighbor's
existing
roof.
house.
Oh, gotcha,
Yeah.
the neighbor.
That's gotta be replaced at some point, though. It's probably.
Wait, aren't we gonna
leaky at this
match
point.
it? The roof shingles to the neighbors?
Red?
Yeah.
No.
No.
I thought this was gonna be that new green that we found. And this is gonna be called
Why
Christmas.
can't it be
Yeah,
This is gonna be called Christmas
Christmas
corner.
roof.
If they re-roof it, why can't it be
Christmas
red?
corner.
It probably could, but
They've had it for some time, they
Are we
love
really
it.
color coding?
That's all I have,
No.
that's all I have to say.
So did you
Okay.
say, Diane, sorry to interrupt, that you prefer the lighter gray retab, or?
I don't know, I look at it, I just think that if you have a really solid black next to the red roof, that it makes a really impressive statement, but if you gray it out a little bit, it wouldn't be called forward so much. That's all.
Who knows
Yeah,
how
I
long
thought
the red's gonna be
I had
there.
heard that the roof as submitted was dark gray shingles.
Says black.
It's I have light gray 3-tab. on
The
the
drawings say
application.
black.
Okay.
Oh, well, that's
All right,
interesting.
well,
let's
we should
pick.
wrap
So,
up,
I don't know what it is then.
because
I
Diane, I
usually go
happen to
dark gray,
agree
that's
with
interesting.
your assessment of the color. Like, black, I think, would be too heavy on a roof this size, and gray would be, yeah. And then the
Dark
light
gray.
gray is kind of,
Ew.
yeah.
Dark gray.
Ew,
dark gray.
That's the word I was looking for.
Charcoal gray?
Charcoal.
Yeah, Stephen.
Okay, so, Carrie, first of all, I appreciate the changes you made. It makes a big difference. The concern here is just referencing the previous meetings and minutes for the one-story structures along not just the left and the right, but that whole side. And that this is gonna set a precedent for what's gonna happen there in the future for the next 50 years. So thank you for that work. I think the only two comments I have are your, I'm not suggesting anything here, but I want to clarify. Your locus plan shows this structure basically even with the front of the neighboring structure in terms of, so the structure to the right of this, which is the red house, that front corner on the right of this structure is even with a line drawn across the plane. And then interestingly enough, on this drawing,
Sure, that's perfectly correct.
well, I'm looking at your drawing and it lines up perfectly to that corner. And then interestingly enough, this one almost lines up, the other corner almost lines up with the Muse. But in this drawing, it's forward by at least a couple of feet.
Yeah.
So I would like to suggest that it would go back that couple of feet. And with respect to the roof color, I was originally thinking black would be a better color because it will take the roof and it will give it a sense of weight. And I think that will help to keep this grounded in the front, but I don't feel strongly about it. I don't disagree, because if you're looking at this from the side view as you're coming down Surfside towards the structure, towards the schools, you're gonna see that large expanse of the second story roof. So black may not be the best solution. So for me, it would be I would be fine with black, or a darkish gray would be fine. But I do believe that this structure should slide back, so it's not closer to the road than the other two structures. So
How far back?
It looks like it's about 2 feet.
It's about 2 feet.
I'm concerned
Yeah.
about the parking in the rear, because we do have parking requirements.
This is
And
actually
we
10
do
scale,
need
so
to have
you could
enough
see this is
maneuvering
less
room
than
to back out of that garage.
equals 10 feet.
And if
So-
a car was parked in that
If a
parking
car was
Eighth
parked in the
inch is 2
parking
feet.
space and
It looks
a
odd.
car was in the garage,
Yeah.
it would need to be able to back out. So I don't know about moving it back any further. Originally, I did not have that little roof over the front door, so I in order to get that roof over the front door, I moved the whole building back a little further. So I just don't have much room to wiggle
Maybe
back.
before you make a decision, you'll
I think I do have a better one
put
here,
one car in front of the other. and
which
see if
is
you can
more
move it.
realistic. I'm sorry I should have passed that one along with it. I just realized I had that one. But that's more
Do you have
realistic.
more than one copy of that?
No, I don't, I'm
And
sorry.
what is that showing?
That's showing, again, the 3 buildings in a
So
line.
this shows the 3.
But the locus is not as
But
accurate.
it probably
as this one.
confirms that
My
Stephen's
building is
thing.
a little bit proud of the other 2. I think it's kind of.
And that's the drawing I was referring to.
Right.
So just having seen that, if you're looking at those site plans and considering the mass of those buildings relative to one another, the hand-drawn one, to me, reads significantly better, even though it's only a couple of feet, given that this is a 1.5 stories versus a 1-story, versus that drawing. Had I not seen that one, I might not have even thought of it. Well, that's not true, but.
You mean this one?
Yeah.
Is there some compromise here? You know,
Well, I would
2
just like
feet.
to say that the massing in itself, the sort of low, rise, low, talking about red roof, our building, and the Muse, that's not an unappealing streetscape. If it's, do you know what I mean?
No,
So if it's
well, I think we're all reconciled to that. I think what the issue is the fact that this building is
it's a little
proud of.
Right,
the-
but again, I would argue the same point. I don't see why having it a little proud or a little back, when in fact pushing it back for
But
us
so
would be
I look
really
at
a
that
hardship.
space right there, and that's your 2 feet right there. You know, that little thing.
Yeah, I hate the idea of putting the parking right to the property line, because then there's no way to have a buffer hedge if ever we
You
need
have to
one.
have screening.
Yeah. So-
But only on 3 sides, and the structure screens on 1, and you can screen on the other 2.
I think to make any difference, it would have to go back quite a bit, and I just can't.
Well,
I can't see
is
doing
that
To make any difference, what would have to go back quite a bit?
Well, the building, like,
No, we're literally talking about like 2 feet maximum.
right, so in my mind, 2 feet wouldn't make a difference in terms of reading the buildings, especially when you're driving, because the walking path is on the other side of the street. And I don't think that 2 feet would make much of a difference at all. Where it would make a huge difference to us, I don't think visually it'd make a huge difference to
I
anybody
think they'd be
driving
looking,
by.
people driving down be looking at the Muse rather than this.
Hopefully they're looking at this
Yeah.
beautiful building.
Doesn't the land fall off
It
behind
does,
this building?
it seems to go
Down
back.
to
yeah.
sort of a semi-marshy
Yep.
area, and then it goes
Yep,
up on
there's
the
a lot
other
of-
side.
Yep, there's a lot of deep green back there.
Then it's almost like, what's the point?
yeah.
Well, so I haven't given my comments, but I appreciate the reduction on the front, definitely. In fact, I think it's all fine.
Can I make a
Diane,
motion?
well, so Diane, you want to move those windows apart a little bit?
The motion is to the roof to be charcoal gray, 3 tab, to consider and this is through staff, consider the 2 feet back, if it can work with,
I'll have to double check with the surveyor to make sure we have that space, but I truly don't think we do. I think I've already pushed it back as far as I can.
Yeah, I think the motion would either have to include it or not include it,
okay.
you know, and
And
not leave it
And the west
ambiguous.
side, second floor windows would be separated as much as possible. Not a lot, because the roof.
Yeah, not a lot, because we don't want
Maybe
to
a
appear
foot or two,
wall
I
eye.
don't
Well, they don't
Down
have,
to the corners.
they don't have a lot of room, because the
They
roof
do.
comes down there.
Okay.
Well,
Be a
for the
foot.
sake of moving things
Yeah,
along,
we-
I
Roof
second
color
that
motion
is
for charcoal
charcoal
Get to
gray.
sneak in comments.
Okay, so just to be clear, that motion does not include any change in the proximity of the front of the building to the road. So all those in favor of Diane's motion?
Aye.
I'm a no, unfortunately.
Okay.
I like the changes.
Yeah,
I think they're appropriate.
Well, hopefully I'll have proven my point when it's built. And
we
you
shall
won't-
see.
I
You won't be
always-
disappointed.
I-
We'll
I-
see.
I have no concerns about being wrong if it's a better product.
Well,
All right, thanks,
thank you
guys.
very much.
All right, is Julie here?
I don't see it.
Julie or Julie's proxy? No?
I don't have the.
I guess we're gonna hold, oh, that's Harbor View, yeah. Can we-
Motion to hold number 9 to Harbor View Way
for representation.
for representation.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I gotta recuse from this one.
Which one?
Ditto.
This is the
This one?
Nantucket Road thing. It hasn't been heard in a long time.
New dwelling.
All right.
this is
So,
the one that was
oh,
the
the big
gambrel,
What are you planning?
the big one.
I guess my point registered the last.
It's still big. Don't
Sure.
worry. It's
You
not as
want to
nice
start?
looking either. Well, you'll see on the site plan,
It's not as nice?
No, because we're trying to get height out of it, so it looks smushed.
Am I still on this?
Yeah, it hasn't been heard.
You are still on it. Camp Coombs, Camp, Oliver, and Welch.
So we lowered the grade 6 inches back to the site of the original house. The existing house sat at 51, and we feel like this house should be able to sit at 51 as well. So we lowered the grade from 51.6, I believe. I think it was lowered 6 inches. And then we dropped the second floor roof by 9 inches by changing the pitch. And we removed the roof walk at this point.
Wow.
But I think, I mean, just to my eye, I think the original proposal was a little bit more elegant, just because of it didn't look quite as squished.
Well,
I mean, if 9 inches, if it's gonna make a difference.
see what it looks like a later date.
Not after the roof is on though.
Really? Can't
Well, the
just-
roof has to be built, it's a little hard to change. Anyway. The roof walk is gone. I mean, I think, ideally I'd want to potentially come back for it, but if the concern is the height of the lot, I think we're willing to give that up rather than cut the grade down on the lot. Because again, we're putting the house back to sort of the grade that the original house was at. So we're cutting, you can see on the site plan, the 52, elevation 52, and we're going to be at 51. And the old house was at 51.
What is the height of the, not with the roof walk, but just the general?
Well, there should
Oh,
be.
26.2 is,
Hello there.
I guess it's 26.2.
Yeah, for some reason.
Does that sound right?
No, 28.
28, okay.
26.2. Oh, no, I'm sorry, 26.2. It was 28. Now it's 26.2.
Okay.
I'm looking at the old drawings, giving you the dimensions.
Diane, are you chair?
Yes. You want to start? I thought you were starting, sorry.
No, I was just rambling. Well, okay, I will.
Good.
I appreciate the roof walk coming off because I think it is still, it's on a promontory, it's gonna be prominent. And I think bringing it down, I appreciate bringing it down to 26.2 on such a large building. And it's also moving back on the site, isn't it?
Just a little bit.
From the old, yeah.
From the old. Well, I guess relative to yeah, just a little bit from the road.
I don't know, I like the design, and I don't think I mean, it's so far off the street. It's what, 50?
It's 35, it's probably 70, 100 feet off the street.
Okay, so we're not even gonna see this thing.
Wow.
No, I think
I mean, the top, not the bottom.
I don't think you'll see the first floor because of vegetation, but you'll see the top.
I didn't see him go over
So,
that.
Diane, I don't have any other comments.
Okay, you're all set
Yeah.
on the height of the windows on the first floor and all that business? They have moved the doors down to 7'6" instead of, they were 8 feet before, Lisa?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay, Steve, are you on this?
I am.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Did you, Lisa, I apologize, but I didn't catch this. Did you actually change the the main grade at where the house is gonna
Yes.
sit? And what
Yeah.
was it from?
It was from, I believe it was, I think it lowered 6 inches is my recollection. I can look for that. I think it was at 50, you know what? I can tell you because I can look at my old submission right here. It used to be at 51.5 and we lowered it to 51. So we didn't take a lot out of it, but, you know, to show you that it's at the grade of the existing house, you can see the topo.
Yeah.
The existing topo and
And then on the main house, your drawing, just to be clear, indicates this is at 26.2. There's only one height notation, but when you scale across with a perpendicular line, it works out to 25.11.
oh, well, I would trust the computer dimension more than your scale.
Well, the only problem is that what we're looking at is the whole house shrunken down 3 inches versus the scale of the 26.2.
No, it used to be 28 feet tall.
No, what I'm saying is this scales at 25.11. If you scale this, you take this line,
I don't know what you're pointing at.
if you extend the line over, or you extend the line over,
Right.
the actual height of the structure is 25.11.
So it's shorter than what we've said,
So it's shorter than what you're calling out.
right? But by 3 inches at a quarter inch scale.
Well, interestingly, right, so I would say that the 26, let's call it 26 that it shows, is fine in terms of what I would deem appropriate. In terms of the massing of the house, the structure of the house, all those things, the flow, the vocabulary, all of it works together at 26 feet. I still have concerns about the overall height. Without referencing other properties, I'm just concerned about the overall height on the top of the hill. So I think that it would be more appropriate if we lost at least another 6 inches on the overall finished floor height, which would translate to the overall structure. So, which is to say, if the grade were lowered another 6 inches. And a portion of the grade is at 49.
Where do you see
At the
that? No, the 49, oh, just on the very,
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't get a flat on this.
it's not, none of the house sits on existing grade of 49.
Right, I'm sorry, I had it on an angle, I was working with
Right,
John.
so that's why
scaling.
we sort of thought that the 50, grade, or 51, sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. It's kind of where the grade sits right now. It actually even has to be cut, because you can see the existing grade at 52. So we were cutting it a little bit, even in the original proposal.
Gotcha,
So-
okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to belabor the point, I just think that it's the highest thing in the whole area, and at 50 feet, or 50 and a half feet at grade, it's still the highest grade in the whole area. And that's just my concern, is that it's gonna read as a big house on the hill.
From Cliff Road.
No.
Pardon me?
From
Cliff Road.
Well,
No, I don't
Yeah.
think the visibility from Cliff Road is really at such a distance.
What's the colors again?
It's all Nantucket gray.
Ah, perfect.
It's such a distance from Cliff Road.
Okay, you're next.
Yep.
I'll get John right down. Johnny, do you have something
He's not
that you'd
on
like
it.
to say?
John's not on it.
Oh, Val.
I appreciate the changes.
but
She appreciates the changes?
Yep.
Okay. I do too, and I just wanted to ask you what one thing was.
Sure.
There's one on the west elevation and one on the north elevation, and the second floor deck,
That's a shower.
it looks like it's an outdoor shower on the second floor,
It is.
and there's one around the corner on the north. Can't the people from the west
Right.
walk around to the north, or vice versa?
she's worried about the people underneath. getting wet from the shower.
Oh, not about seeing the shower.
Well, I wondered if you'll see them from the west, you'll see
Yeah.
them from the north.
The north will be again, that's Cliff Road, that's such a distance. And from the west, it would have to be from, I think it would be hard to see, it would almost have to be from the intersection of Cliff and Nantucket.
Yeah, that's what I was
It's
thinking.
really
of that.
far away.
I just thought it was a lot of showers on the second floor. That's all.
Probably none that are permitted. There's probably a lot that exist.
So, would anybody care to make a motion?
Throw in a chimney and I'll go for it.
How come there is no chimney?
A chimney would break up that 40-foot roof line.
Yes, I would go for a chimney too.
That's certainly possible. They don't have a fireplace, but
They-
we'll add a chimney.
They'll need one. Really?
Yeah.
Gosh, well, you made my day.
I'll trade you chimney for 6 inches.
I have to
Sounds
talk
good
to
to me.
Steve about that.
So, somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
All right, what's it gonna be?
Well, I don't know if I've got, if you have anything to add, but motion to approve, including one chimney, but do we want to see it? I mean,
I
right,
think-
through staff.
Yeah.
Did you, is something about height of doors or
No,
windows?
she shrunk the doors down, 6 inches, so instead of being 8 foot, they're 7'6".
Okay.
Would it be okay just to put the chimney on that end? Like just on the end? Or do you want it actually mid-span?
The chimney,
Yeah. Could also
maybe
have,
where you had the vicinity where you had the roof on?
Yeah, I was thinking more centered.
somewhere here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't center it on the
Yeah.
mass, but
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, and that gets it over, well, I don't know what it does to your great room, but it gets it out of your master hall and master closet.
Right.
Makes your great room great.
Yes.
The roaring
No,
fire.
those are pillows, John.
That's my
I like a lot
motion.
of pillows.
All right, all those in favor of Abby's motion, say
So,
aye.
so this is with a chimney of no dimensions, no, we're not gonna,
Approved
Through
by staff.
staff. We
She
trust
knows
her.
what kind of chimney.
We'll
to
make it
make.
nice. It's not gonna be too
The
big.
architect,
I love 100-foot tall chimneys.
yes. It's through you, so you can say no.
It'll be brick,
And
not painted.
you're not including the grade thing. That's not in your motion.
Did you have an issue about the grade?
Well, it's only 26 feet tall. I just feel like, I mean, next door you could be 2 feet lower.
It's
and
not
the house
part
is
of my
gonna be
motion.
27 foot.
Okay, then
Yeah.
we'll do that.
Okay.
So that is Abby's motion, is the chimney to be included, and, this is through
Chimney, right.
staff, and that's about the only
that's it.
things that have to be done. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
sorry, I'm a no.
Sorry.
You don't have to apologize.
Nice to have
No,
some no's.
I just, it's nice, you can still be cordial. you
Yeah.
know. I like the design. And I trust you on your.
Thank
chimney.
you.
I'd like to
That's
see
the
it.
only one. You guys are gonna be home early. You have to run to the group.
No, don't.
Don't jinx it.
Oh, yeah, I should have said that. Thank you.
Today's Diane's
Okay.
birthday.
It is?
Yes.
Yes.
It's Diane's birthday?
Happy birthday.
No kidding.
Diane, you? Are you
Diane,
talking
my
in
Diane
the-
daughter.
Junior.
Oh,
My granddaughter was yesterday, Diane is today, my daughter-in-law is the 14th, and I'm at the end. It's a
6 Nantucket Road.
busy
Anybody here?
So, Mr. Chairman, Ethan's not here, but he told me today he did everything that you wanted to do.
All right,
He took
let's,
off the door.
hey, so can you give me the board on it?
Paul, Coombs, McLaughlin, and Oliver.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, I know when. Where's that?
This is
Steve's gonna give it. Thank you.
Horrible. This is the monument.
Oh, was that the little house? This is in the strange street.
Yeah,
Here's Woodbury.
and remember they were switching
Yeah,
the
that's
front
the
door
monument.
because
Oh,
they
here's
sold
the
the.
Oh,
Yeah.
So we had them change that
Is it?
to take away, it was a transit.
Yeah.
So,
It's a transfer.
And it wasn't
All right.
flower.
so let's see.
This is the west elevation. So, I wonder if the house on the outside of block for this town.
Does everybody remember this?
Yeah,
With there was the discussion about the transom, you know, moving the transom, moving the front door, quote unquote. Let's see what he did. He got rid of the clapboard. He made the fence thing smaller. I'm looking at the north elevation.
yeah, and he
right
took
now.
the transom off of, which was above that door. But I'm not sure, if the 6-light door goes with the transom.
No, it doesn't. Okay, and is that it? Let's see.
Yeah,
Well, there's one more small thing which is on the east elevation.
1 and 1.
East elevation.
Why
Yeah,
is that a 9-light?
Well,
it's for egress.
yeah, he needs an egress window out of that. This, oh,
Remember he had a
He
run,
got- you
didn't
know
he
what?
have a dormer?
yeah, he didn't even circle that. He got rid of it.
Yeah,
All right. So I think that dormer was kind of objectionable to several of us.
Dormer is it?
it's gone.
Yeah,
It's right
he,
here.
and he didn't even bubble it, Diane.
And it
He
ran
just
into-
got rid of it.
Yeah,
It just disappeared. So,
the one
Val,
we're, would be approving is the lower east elevation, not the upper east
Well, this
elevation,
is
right?
what the previous cert
Yeah,
was.
that's
Yeah.
what I wondered. 'cause
the
this
one with the
window
red
changed
bubble around it is the one that we would be approving.
Also, and he changed that window down from a 6 window.
No, there was a shower in front of it.
Oh,
It's the same window.
So, and the shower's still there.
No, he got rid of it. This is
He,
just
yeah, he made that little fence enclosure, which I believe is to conceal the
AC units.
AC units. He just made it all low. You can see that, Diane, if you
On this
compare the
page.
two north elevations.
See, it was
One
like
has a
that.
tall
Yeah.
fence, the
That's
other one
why
has a
you
low
couldn't see.
fence.
That,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, so
Oh.
Val, you had made a comment that the.
Yeah, with the exception of, I just think there's a little bit of a disconnect with the 6-light door and the transom above.
Yeah, well, I agree. Okay, was that it?
Yeah.
All right. Diane, what about you?
I agree about that door. I think the one above it, the old one with the transom and the 4 panels or 6 panels is, goes with the style of the house better than that one with those long panels.
Okay.
So he should go back to the old door.
All right. Sounds good. Was that it?
Yeah. I
Okay.
did it.
John, what about you?
Well, the comment, according to what's on the paper here, there's 34 windows in the structure. 4 of them,
The windows
4
are
different
already
ones
there.
are casements.
Well, the B windows, I think, are casements,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
They're already there.
That's already been approved, am I right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Shouldn't have. My only comment.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. So, John, it looks like what we're going to do on this one is if you look at the west elevation,
Right,
see how there's a transom over a door that has a 6-light in it?
yeah, I got that checked.
Yeah, so we're just going to go with the one that's above it, which is just a transom on a 6-panel. No glass in the
Yeah.
door. All right? Can somebody give me that motion?
I will make that
All
motion
right, great. Oh,
through staff.
Diane's motion is to approve this as submitted with the exception of the entry door on the, can somebody tell me what elevation?
West elevation.
On the west elevation, we're gonna remove the 6 lights from the door and stick with a 6-panel door.
Right.
All those in favor of Diane's
Aye.
motion?
Aye.
John Yen?
Yeah.
Okay, that was unanimous. Okay, 86 Main.
Uh-huh.
Boy, this one's big. Back and forth
How you doing?
I'm awake.
Yeah.
I think I remember this one.
No,
Oh,
well,
okay.
this is the same house with the long board fence.
Yeah.
But this isn't the board fence. You're about to find out.
Oh, so this is a new
Well,
thing?
just this just follows up on the last one about the two details: the fence, the arch, and the gate, which are submitted.
Oh, that's funny, because I thought we already approved that.
I think you did. It was just to finalize the give dimensions and details. In doing it, we worked out that setting the gate back 1.5
Yeah.
pushes a little bit toward the to a little step in the yard. So we narrowed the gate by about 3 inches to 45 inches, so it didn't swing within the arbor. That's the only
Okay.
change.
Well, all right. Great. I should know the board on this, but John, can you help me out? Abby's on.
Cole, Coombs, McLaughlin, Camp, and Welch.
Okay.
Garden, no corn.
So,
Okay.
just to be clear, we didn't approve it then.
I think you basically said come back with this and.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So-
But we didn't make a motion
We had a
to
couple
approve.
dimensions that had to be played with.
Got it.
All
All right.
Hold out the drawing.
All right. So, why don't you just let us, you told me kind of what's going on, but why don't you tell the board?
Okay. The proposal is essentially identical to what we did before, with one exception, that the two exceptions. The gate is set back, as you suggested, 1.5 feet minimum. So because the sidewalk's slightly angled and it's a running perpendicular to the end of the house, at one side will be 1'6", the other will be something like 1'10".
Okay.
And then we narrowed the arch by about 3 inches because we found that it just, by setting the gate back, we needed to make the gate itself a little narrower, otherwise we'd start to swing quite close to a step in the yard. So it's just been shortened a little bit. Otherwise, the details are all the same as what was previously shown. And we included just a little kind of rendering on the street to get a sense of how that works.
4 feet wide.
Okay, that's much nicer.
It's not showing.
I think the recess actually is a really good thing. And the gate will swing in this time instead of out, which is what it currently does.
I'm okay with the changes, if anybody's interested.
We're all in.
I have some questions.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. Go
Through
ahead.
you. So, Brian, looking at your middle elevation, labeled elevation at gate and set from fence. And it looks to be at least a partial cross-section. And it shows on the right-hand side brick that is reflected in the lower right-hand corner elevation here with like a retaining wall cap.
Yep.
I'm not seeing anything on the other side.
That side of the yard is slightly higher, and so it's just a little retaining wall that runs across the yard. And we felt that to build on top that made sense, and the other side will just come down as wood. Because the grade level there is about 1.5 feet or a foot lower.
So how are you guys gonna handle that when that was just gonna be lattice?
That'll just, the materials that appear on this side, stopped by the brick wall, would just extend down to grade on the other side.
No, what I said is, how did you handle it, the grade change when that side was all gonna be lattice from the rear post to the front post? And the gate was gonna be.
It was still, I don't think it had been drawn up in an elevation or a section like this, but it was intended to put the posts on top of the wall and then bring them down in front of the wall to grades they read as being supporting the structure.
I just think it's gonna be a odd detail to have the retainage on one side and not on the other, because it's not, the form isn't gonna, the form follows the function, but from the outside, it doesn't translate. because you don't see that there's a grade change. You just see a partial brick wall with a cap and then wood above it. And then on the other side, you see wood that goes, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm looking at this perspective drawing, probably orthographic, you're on the right-hand side, you see retainage.
Yep.
So you see a 3-material wall, which I'm not necessarily objecting to. But on this other wall to the left, which we don't see, that will be a solid vertical board.
Correct.
So if you're walking by this, you're going to see this kind of incongruity with the finished materials.
Can I ask a simple question?
Sure.
Why?
Why don't you, wouldn't it be possible to run the vertical board down in front of the brick?
Yeah.
It is. It's a design for rot. But I mean, it's going to rot over 10 or 15 years, not immediately. It's going to trap moisture behind it. But I don't think it's a big deal one way or the other for us.
Okay.
Or the alternative would be to work out whatever detail you need on the inside to brick and cap the other side. So for me, it was number one was to clarify what I was looking at and make sure I understood it. And then number 2 was to try and come up with some solutions. So with respect to the arbor, I think those are those are my concerns and comments. And otherwise, I think, having it be inset and having these little bit of details are maybe not exactly typical of the average of every arborway in town. But I think that each of them have little individual characteristics that this would conform with, as long as it was consistent on both sides.
Can I ask you, one of the reasons we did it that way, and I say I don't think anyone feels strongly it should be one way or the other, is just to say there are irregularities in the town, and irregularities in old things, and this is an irregularity in the site. We didn't see the need of covering it. But again, I don't feel adamantly one way or another, and I don't think the owner does.
Were you about to say something, Abby?
No, I was taking just a deep breath.
Oh, okay. Thanks. John. You ready?
I'm missing something. This has 3 arches.
Yeah, there's an outer one at the street, and then setback a
I
foot and
said
a half.
this has 3 arches, 1, 2, 3.
Right, the setback one in the middle is to hold the gate in place, it swings, and the last one is just to terminate the arbor.
That wasn't my question. My
Oh, I'm sorry.
question was 3 arches.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I'm looking at this one here, looking north, from this side, looking this way. Is these 2 bricks going to be in here?
Only on this side, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah, I heard him say it. I think they ought to match whatever you do.
Okay, so this one, I think if we're gonna make it match, I think we would do the lowering of the wood on that side, just an easier thing than create a whole new brick structure.
He makes a good point, and I agree with it.
Okay.
Make them both the same.
All right. Thanks, John. Diane.
Yeah, that was the thing that caught my eye was that proposed arbor section looking north, that the brick was sort of there and around on the right. So did we decide that we could go all the way down that boarding?
Apparently, that's what Brian is willing to do.
I think it would look
He's
better.
willing to make it basically run the vertical board in front of the brick so that you don't see any brick on either side.
Right, the brick is supposed to be to hold something back, right?
Yeah, well, he's obviously retaining on this north side.
Okay. And I don't know, I'm not for the cap because we try and keep caps off them. Perfectly neat brick wall would be okay.
The cap on the brick wall?
Isn't that what has been said? Is this going to be?
Well, it is, but see, that it's getting overruled because I think Brian is okay with the idea of running the board down so you're not going to see the cap or the brick or anything.
Even over by the trellis, you're going to
That's
run?
inside the property.
Yeah, so what you kind of don't see there is there's this opaque gate in between that.
Okay.
So you're, unless the gate is open, you're not going to see that at all.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure. And
Okay.
the other thing is, tell me about the front walk. I see the stuff from
Is
the
that
museum. But these are different places. This is 13 Fair Street, 72 Main Street. The point of that was brought up to me because a person called me, was that what had been in front of this building was the high stone with the talc in it, and that it had been removed and very deep looking stones were put in, and what had come out had been sort of broken, chipped, and put to the side. And she wanted to know why the original stones wouldn't go back.
Okay, Diane, before we hear from you and all that, I want to be clear. So what you're talking about is not part of this application.
It is on here though, restore front walk.
Yes, granted, but like that was, I think, approved on a prior thing. That's not something that you're asking for with this particular
No,
application.
this was not submitted in time for you to consider at this meeting.
Yeah, so this is kind of, I'm just raising this as a point of order, okay?
Okay, yeah.
And I'm not suggesting that Brian doesn't answer your question or anything like that, but I just want to make sure that everybody's clear that the discussion that is surrounding the front walk portion of this is not officially on the table. It's not something that we're voting on at this time. But certainly if Brian doesn't mind answering your question, I don't mind hearing the answer.
So it will be another application? Because it's presented as an amendment.
Can I just imagine? I wrote it up in that
Yeah, why
format
don't
because
you- why don't you?
eventually it will be an application if
Okay.
you want it. I just figured it's cleaner to kind of couch it in those ways and then go from there.
Okay.
But it was not submitted in time to be considered as part of the.
Okay. But do you want to?
Are you done with this? 'Cause
Yeah. So why don't we clear this all up? Because I think we're very close to yes on this. Yes, John, you
I have a question.
made a point.
It says there's I just caught it, it says a 13-foot gate.
Yes.
Okay. Is this the gate or is this the gate? Which slide? This or this?
This piece here is representing the sliding piece. Goes back behind this fence and then goes across this opening. And last time I wasn't sure. The last one showed this is 2 swinging gates. So I wanted to confirm that and confirm the dimension, which was 13. It's being reduced from the previous 19.
This is 13 feet long.
Yes.
That goes back to here?
Yep.
It doesn't go past.
No, well, actually, it goes a little bit past here because it's got to have more counterbalance. It probably goes a few inches past there. So the gate itself may be a little wider, but the opening itself is
This
13
does not
feet.
slide this way.
It slides that way to the point of stopping and then forward. So when this is all the way back, it's flush there and comes back 13 feet plus the overage, which counterbalances it.
So it's going to be right here. 15 feet. Basically, if it's shut, if it's open, it's going to go from here to here.
No, from here to there will be the blocked area, but the physical gate itself will go back further. It has to have a counterbalancing weight on the other end.
And if it is open, it will go from here.
So to back 13 feet behind this fence.
That's what I was questioning.
Yeah, it will go back. There's plenty of space there for it.
Look at your two. You look at your 2 measurements here. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I just marked that.
It's like the frame has been put up and it fits in there.
Here it is, right here. From here to here, it's going to be 9 feet. From here to here. That's what it says.
No, 13 feet.
Excuse me, this is 13 feet, right? From here to here.
No, 13 runs from here.
From here is 13 feet
In the
to
gap.
here.
To here, to where the gap ends. If you look at pull this over a little bit, it's where the green ends there. That's the 13-foot gap.
Okay.
It marks the opening.
I'm just trying to get right because I don't want to have it coming back in here. In time enough. 13 feet from here to here.
Not here, because this,
Well,
This hasn't
this
been
is the
approved
opening,
yet, so
and
it's
the actual
amending
physical gate
this.
will be somewhat longer, because to be on
This is
track, it
already
has to have
built.
some counterbalancing weight there to steady it.
and if it's not amended to the existing, it
Accurate.
hasn't been approved, it would have to be a new.
Well, we have, thanks, John. Are you still on the gate?
No, I'm looking at the stone.
Okay. Could we just do some housekeeping here?
So,
All right. 'Cause I
Yeah,
think
that
that we're
is-
ready for a motion on the portion of this that was actually applied
okay,
for.
so tell me what you want in the motion.
Okay, it sounds like what Brian is willing to do is modify the inside portion of the moon gate such that none of the brick retainage is visible, which means that the vertical board would continue down, that's north, right? That's
It's that north foot and 10 inches of the kind of
Right.
recessed entry, yeah.
So it would match the south, which is vertical board all the way down. And I believe that was the only thing that we were gonna do by way of modification of this proposal. Right? Okay, so can somebody make that motion?
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear all the details. Motion to approve extending the wood down to be the same as both sides will be the same.
Yep.
So there will be no brick going.
Very good. All those in
Anything
favor?
Aye.
That was it. Aye. Now, just so that we,
Through that,
yeah, through staff. So Brian, did you want to mention what's going on with the
Sure,
front?
sure. First of all, John sent me a note saying he was surprised, you were
John
surprised.
Hedden.
John Hedden.
Yeah.
My apologies, our goal is not to surprise you. There's a lot of confusion about who has jurisdiction, and when we were at that meeting in March, the town manager, other people asserted the HDC wasn't having jurisdiction. So anyway, we welcome your involvement. I prepared this material for you to give you some of the archaeology and the background of what we're doing. And I've included other buildings than this one on site, just to say, there's a large pattern here of paving that this follows. And so we've derived some of our understanding of this paving from that. And if I could just briefly talk you through what our reasoning is. The first thing is a drawing made for the paving in front of the Unitarian Meeting House in 1831. And you can see that it picks out the blocks. This is a manuscript. It's also in the smaller one too. You should each have one of these. I made 7 copies. If you don't, I'm happy to provide this one for somebody else.
Well,
No, I
no,
think
there
we're all
must,
down.
there must be around.
Come in there.
Oh, here, that one, John.
Well, what I'm really looking, oh, there's the manuscript, okay, got it. Oh, cool.
Yeah, now,
Wow.
the only thing I've done in this manuscript is the manuscript is so faint on the dotted lines
Yeah.
that we went in and just touched up where each dot was still visible so you could see the pattern. It's a running bond in front of the meeting house.
Uh-huh.
You can see that they've got brownstone steps. This is the pattern that occurs throughout town in a lot of these installations, where you get this kind of pattern. Usually, this one's running along parallel to the street with the rows. The other ones run vertical, perpendicular to the facades of the house.
can I just ask one second, what drawing should we be looking at?
That's.
The first page.
Diane,
Okay,
Do you have
this drawing, this
yeah, I
is,
got that.
yeah, okay,
So
And then-
what he's saying that is running bond?
yeah.
Just meaning that the joints are staggered, so they don't
Yeah.
line up. And then,
Well, they're parallel in one dimension and they're staggered in the
Yeah.
other dimension.
and then the other one is a blow-up of an 1890 view of 86 Main Street, showing the basic pattern that existed there. And this interesting detail at the corner by Pine Street was a 45 degree, not a curve.
Right.
Uh-huh, yeah. Huh.
So the next
They used
page,
to have square tires back then.
it actually would make a lot more sense today with wide-turning vehicles, and instead of having them go up and over just
Yeah,
to
for sure.
cut the corner. The next one shows that pattern survived pretty well into the 1960s in front of 86 Main Street. This is from the mid-late 60s, and this is also a photograph from which you can't see it in this print. The curved end of the original stoop remains there. You can't see it in this one, but that end where it's dark and there's no railing above followed the original curve. It gave us some of the dimensions we needed for the stoop. And then just to give you the example of the schist that it was paved with, I've been investigating this, trying to figure out where to get supplies for it. as best I can tell, it may have come from Bolton, Connecticut, where a schist quarry was opened up in 1809, and that material was shipped to a lot of locations. And I've traced it into New Bedford and Falmouth, and I think it's the source here. Then the other piece here is the curbstones. I included, this is a picture of a curbstone on Liberty Street, and I include this one because the wedge marks are so crisp and clear on this, it's really obvious. But if you start looking around at a lot of these curbings, they all bear it. The ones in front of 86 Main Street have it. It's a bit fainter. And that's just simply the quarrying method that was used prior to about 1835 and faded out in the 1830s when drill holes started to come in. So it helps to date these materials as to when they were installed.
The other time you see this material when you're digging up in downtown Nantucket is the old sewer lines. They used to cap the bottom and the top and then stack bricks in between. So
Cap it with the curbing or with
the Bolton stone? So
really?
Yeah, there were sewer lines are made out of the Bolton stone and then stacked brick for the vertical walls.
Interesting, because if you get into a lot of old houses here, the hearths, very common method in Nantucket is to take a wooden sleeper, and then here's the chimney which has a sleeper, and then lay flagstones at an angle like this, and then build the hearth on top of it and use that for the support. And you see that all over. The number of advertisements for Connecticut flagstones, there are three that come up in the advertisements. Cooper's flags, which seem to come from Maine, they're probably granite. Connecticut flagstones, which are nearly certainly schist. And then there's one other flag that they cite.
Not Goshen.
No, they don't say Goshen. Goshen is a similar stone to the schist here, but it seems to contain a lot more iron oxide and other impurities. This one seems to be heavy with mica. And if you look in some places, Clay Lancaster mistook this for sandstone, bluestone. In some places, it's overlain by a fairly dense layer of bluish slate-like material. You can actually see it eroding away and then revealing the mica schist beneath it. It's an interesting material. As I say, I've found it now in a lot of places along the coast. It makes sense that it's coming out of Connecticut. But again, I've got a piece of it. I want to go to the abandoned quarry site, which is in Bolton, Connecticut, in Francis State Park, and just see, is this the material, and can we source some somewhere? So then getting on to the next page, I just want to include a couple examples of this schist laid up in a very standard way. In this case, one is in front of the Barrett House on Main Street, running perpendicular to the face of the house. The other one's by the old Ship's Inn, same thing. And you can see that one of the things that's happened to this is that on that low corner, it's been cracked. And a lot of this has suffered damage by vehicles. And standing in front of 86 Main Street, one of the things that, I don't know if there's going to be a method to solve this, but the UPS truck and every other truck pulls up on that sidewalk and it cracks the stone. And particularly at the corner, if you go on to the next one, I've included a scanned plan of the stone by stone at the bottom, and then detailed photos of the stones before anything was done above. And you can see that the first view on the western end of the sidewalk is largely intact. The rows are intact, a lot of the stones are intact. You can see some fractured into pieces. And then as you get toward the water connection, that seems to have been chewed apart when the water lines were replaced at some point. And if you go to the next page, you can see the degree of fracturing from that point over. The stones there's some replacement stones, they're in broken little bits. And then finally, when you get to the corner, they're really smashed apart into odd little bits, and then some supplementary other stones have been thrown in. Then the additional insult to this is it's been bedded in concrete where the stones fractured. And the concrete was just poured over the sand, so it fractured and moved around and didn't provide a solid base, but it sticks like mad to the stones. And so we've stored these stones, so we have them. But at this point, they're too small to fit. The average row size in this space was that 21 to 24 inch dimension, mostly 23 and a half. These fractured ones don't come close to it, so they really don't have a use for that particular installation. And even if you break them, you're not going to end up with a piece to patch with, but we do have them. And then if you go to the next page, you can see, again, starting at the corner and working back. The corner, we have used some granite that matched in color to take up some of those large missing areas. And then wherever there was a stone that was full size or broken in a way that could be laid tight together and kept, those have been redone.
You're talking about the north northeast corner?
Is you on page 6?
Well,
Yep, you can start.
Is
You
that
can,
blue mist granite?
is it what?
Diane,
Blue mist granite?
I'm not
This
sure
is
the name came
page
from the
6.
Plymouth quarry.
I think you had.
Not quarried in Plymouth, but from a
No, I
provider.
know
was
the
looking
supplier,
at
yeah.
Yeah. So as you go across it, you'll see that we've kept the row lines, and we've kept all those stones that fit the base criteria of being reasonably sound. They could be missing a corner. They could be fit tightly together. You'll see over toward the western edge of the property, there's one that has a notch off the corner. That's been kept. They've been bedded in sand. And we know that at this point, the future plans for ADA access, for the method of installing and treating the street are not decided. So none of this is set in a way that it cannot simply be lifted and reset.
It's all in sand.
Yeah, and we took we had to put new footings in for the stoop. So we took those dimensions from the angles and the lines given to us by the engineer that we met with for the town. And so those footings are at a degree, set at a level at which if that's adjusted to the maximum ADA compliance, those will be fine. So that we know that's an open question still to be solved by the town.
so when you were working on the stoop, and as I was told, all the stones were removed from in front of the house.
They were all lifted. They
Lifted.
were not removed from the site.
No, I didn't say they were removed from the site, but they were removed from the ground.
Yeah.
And it seems that, I guess, one point that they had, that the person, or persons who called me, was that the stone was laid absolutely perfectly, like the reset paving at midsection of the sidewalk. There's no infraction or anything. It looks brand new. How much of the stone that you've used in the repaving the sidewalk is new?
Very little. If you go back, I mean, I can mark it at some point, but if you go back and look at the reset paving at the west end of the sidewalk,
Yeah.
what they did there was, because several of the stones are missing, they would reset the rows and introduce one new stone, but try to keep the older stone as the majority paving there. As you get down toward the east end of the sidewalk, where it was just, as you can see in the photos, badly fractured bits that were actually sitting quite loose with their chunks of concrete, there, less stone has been reused because those were so badly broken.
Those are where you've used newer stones.
Yes.
Then.
I think if you look at the photograph labeled reset
I
paving
s-
at northeast corner, you'll see
Yeah.
those ones look a little bit newer, the larger ones toward the end.
Well, I just, in the general view of flagstones reset in the sand, I believe from what was said was that the existing sidewalk was not so perfect as what you have done here in resetting the pavement of the west end of the sidewalk and the general view of the flagstones reset in sand. I appreciate your problem at the moment with the corner. But as she said, that the west end of the sidewalk, which is coming down the stoop and going towards the west, is very neat and tidy. And it looks new, and this is an historic house, and that was her concern. So I said I would answer it. I think, personally, I think if you keep the curbstone low on the northeast corner where it goes up Pine Street, it's probably safer for the walkway because the trucks are spread out more than going over a curbstone that's higher and coming down on the paving. But that's the way it looks like in the picture, is it drops for that corner. So her main complaint would be the neat and tidiness of the sidewalk, so it doesn't look
May I speak to this, please?
as
Actually,
if.
I want to.
I will defer to you as the chairman.
So, can I just say that, first of all, this is fascinating. And the fact that we have a document that showed the original method that they laid out the sidewalks.
Right.
So the interesting sort of issue here is I believe that a lot of people said, well, you know, the stones should come up just the way they are and they should go right back down just the way they are. What Brian is saying basically is they didn't go down just the way they are. They went down the way they were supposed to have gone down originally. Now, so two things have happened to this, two major things have happened to this sidewalk in front of 86. One, the water meter. So it's fascinating the fact that, you know, DPW, they go in and they put in the water meter. Instead of putting the stones back the way that they were, they broke them up and they just sort of like, you know, in front of the water meter was this sort of mishmash of stones because they broke them and this and that. Then you get down to where the turn is, and to Brian's point, the stuff is laid in sand, and this is not granite. You know, this is you know, little thin stones. So you have the UPS truck cutting around the corner. They break the stones move around, they take the fragments of the stone, they lay them in concrete, and the whole thing is a ragtag mess. Well, everybody's fond of the ragtag mess, but you know, if you're actually going to do this the right way, I think that the method that you use, which is to basically go back, research it, it's guaranteed if this stuff is laid in sand the way it is now, 10 years of UPS trucks running over this thing is going to have it looking exactly the way that it looked before anybody touched it. No, I'm sorry to say this, but this is the truth. And then when they dig up the water thing, they're going to break the stones again, and it's going to all look broken.
Can I add to that point?
Yeah.
And also, when we have a home that we'll use this Main Street home, and if it's in disrepair, you paint it. You know, when it and back to its original state. When the door or window's rotted, you replace it back to the original state. And so, I mean, what would make the sidewalk any different? Repairing it back to the original state, or as close as you can to. And like less than stone, rot happens, but and stones break, and then you're looking
They
at
weren't
trying
talking about, person who complained was not talking about using stones or whatever. She was talking about getting rid of the antique stones and putting newly cut stones in, which are a different color than have been there for 100 years. And also interesting on this description, I don't know, maybe you know, it says that the stone should be 9 to 6 inches long, 2 feet wide, and 8 or 9 inches thick. Are any of them that thick?
No, and even if you go by the Unitarian Meeting House, those stones are not that thick and they've been reset. 8 inches thick is really massive. Yeah.
Right, I'm just saying this is what they call for in this thing, first paragraph, first sentence.
Oh wait, you know, are you looking at the part? We want one step stone, 9 feet 6.
9 feet 6, 2 feet wide, and 8
those are the
nine.
those are the brownstone steps that lead to the doorway. They're just two of those.
Right, and then it goes on. But I just saying, I think that the people who have mentioned to me about this was more concerned, not in the actual laying of the brick, or not the brick, but the stone. But the colors that. This looks like a brand new sidewalk there.
Well, I'd like to just say, I mean, one of the things that we've done with the house from the beginning is the goal has been to repair and restore in kind. Only to repair and replace those things that were badly damaged, and to fix or mend the things that could be repaired. So we didn't want to throw anything out that was reasonably fixable. So there's very little change in that. The goal with the sidewalk was the same thing, to assess the stones and to keep all the original ones that had reasonable original dimensions. And if you go to the reset paving at the west end of the sidewalk, you can see those stones are not perfect and they're not new. So the goal was to supplement only as much as necessary to restore the rectilinear pattern of it. And then in this particular case, because the fate of these sidewalks and the ADA compliance is still undecided, to consolidate the new material as much as we could toward the corner. Because if those are going to become fully ADA compliant, that's an area that's going to have to change. And so that area, and it was also the most damaged. So the goal was not to create a new looking thing, But by the same token, when one relays it using the same method, one wouldn't use inferior workmanship to give it an old appearance. One repairs it to the standard that would be considered good at the time of construction.
So, I'm very happy that we had this conversation.
I really would like to say a couple things, if I may.
Oh, please do. Yes.
So I think this was very upsetting to me for a number of reasons with respect to the joint meeting we had with the select board and all the discussion we've had with the DPW. And I'm gonna try not to be upset about it, but I think that this was a missed opportunity in establishing a process that we could utilize for perhaps one of the more historic walkway areas. You know, clearly if there is if we utilize the categorizations of the HDC with contributing, significant, and non-significant, this is clearly contributing and significant. So this would have been a great opportunity to walk through and learn a process, and I think we haven't lost that opportunity, but I think we could have benefited from doing it at the front end versus the back end. And I'm not putting this squarely on you, Brian. I understand that there was some certainly ambiguity with the end result of how a process would work. Mm-hmm. But I think that had this come to us, we could have taken some leadership, and we could have addressed this in a way that we could then be consistent when we have the town in here and we try and hold them to a standard. I think it would have been an important step. Along those lines of opportunity, I think one of the things that could have been identified and the discussion that could have been had was this wonderful packet of information, which I agree with our chairman is fascinating. And then we could have had some discussion, for instance, about, you know, I understand you were trying to, in keeping with what you could restore. For me, the restoration aspect is to bring something back, and I think this is actually the definition, is to bring something, a material, to replace a material with a similar or like-kind material, utilizing methods that were not methods used at the period. So for me, one of the things that was a concern is that these just appear to be very straight, rectilinear, unfinished edges, which was one of the big complaints we had about the non-antique granite that was utilized on the curb cuts being a sharp edge corner. So that was number one, which I think would have come up in discussion. Mm-hmm. We may have addressed it where the final result of all these points I'm going to make ended up being exactly what you have here, but we didn't have that opportunity to discuss it. And again, this isn't on Brian's shoulders. This is why I think it was important and why it's upsetting and why it's a missed opportunity. The other aspect of it is, I understand that you were trying to address irregularities. My concern is if you look at page 1, 2, 3,
The number to the bottom.
5.
Yeah.
Oh, page 6. Thank you. I didn't see it in light color. You can look at the schematic drawing, and you can see to the left of the entryway where primarily the rectilinear form of the running bond perpendicular to the house has been maintained. And over time, it is broken down in small areas. And then as you go towards the right, you see where it looks like it's different over time, pieces have been replaced or broken up. And on the far right, you have this very organic looking breakup of materials. It looks like something was crushed and kind of fitted in. Now, if you look at the pictures above, the picture above on page 6, the picture on the left shows the rectilinear form. Personally, would I think it'd be more appropriate if the edges were eased a little bit? Less than perfect? Yes. But does it destroy the restoration? Probably not technically. On the right-hand side, where I think we missed an opportunity, is that in replacing materials that you felt couldn't be salvaged because of their width or the degree of their breakup, the ones that were broken up that are organic, for instance, the picture on the right, the second set of stones in from the left, you've got the...
Which picture are you?
Page 6.
6.
Oh, on page 6, okay.
He's here right now.
So the set, you've got the break in the stone there, which I understand why replace it. It doesn't make any sense. That's an organic looking break to me. So I want to establish when I'm using the word organic. It looks like something came along or time or whatever it was, and that stone broke. Now, if you go over 2 rows, 1, 2, and you come down, you see where there's a notch and it looks like a Tetris game where that's a really inorganic irregularity.
Can I just?
No, I want to
I don't, this is not, this piece I've not accepted.
I want to finish my points, please. So you've got this inorganic irregularity that wasn't addressed. If you go over one more row, you'll see there's another inorganic regularity that wasn't.
When you go over one row, are you right at the curb then?
Yeah, and in about the middle weight up, you'll see that one that looks like a chubby L upside down.
Yeah.
So you've got, so my point isn't to pick on whether this is a finished product or not a finished product. My point is to articulate that what we may have sussed out in discussion over this important aspect once and set a process and methodology, so we weren't doing this every time one of these sidewalk came in, is that the discussion may have been, you know what, Brian? Maybe you can reuse some of these stones here, and you could create a full rectilinear portion here, remove the inorganic piece that's like a chubby L, put in a full piece, and then do the same thing and create one whole row of running bonds. Again, I'm not trying to pick on you, I'm not suggesting this is a finished product, but I'm trying to articulate, these are the types of things we could address in advance if we have a process in place, and why I think it's so important that we do have a process in place. Because the other part of this is, how does this even come in? Is this an application that stands
not.
up?
So, and this is something I want to ask you, but this is town property we're talking about, right?
It is, but it was installed by the owner of the house. And
No, I get
Can
who
I,
did the work.
may I just explain?
All right.
Part of this was, and the thing you've jumped on, I completely agree with you, that this was not the specification. And somebody came down, somebody had done that when I got there. But part of it was driven by my saying to the group, we're right on Main Street, when the stoop is ready to go in, I want it to happen quickly. I don't want this to be dragging out for 2, 3, 4 months. So we waited until everyone was ready. It's still not painted. And so once they got rolling, they were rolling through everything. And somebody took it on himself to do this cut. I agree with you completely. And I understand your point, and I agree with that too. I really think the Historic District Commission should be involved in this and having a say on that sort of stuff. It bothers me to see that particular cut. So part of the reason I say it's not finished is because part of what I'd like to do is to source some schist and say, let's get those rows right. But again, it still may change if the town does something specifically about it differently, decides how to handle the ADA compliance, because in the end, the town will govern what happens here.
Well, I would just like to continue, thank you, Brian, I appreciate that. I appreciate you acknowledging the kind of inconsistency in creating the restoration and explaining why it didn't occur, because I think it's relevant. But that gets to the other point, which I think is that I believe that we should exert ourselves on this, and we should request that this be come in as a formal application, whomever's responsible for it, so that this area can be finalized with a set of sketch drawings are fine with me. What you presented on page 6 as a schematic is, I believe, just speaking on the topic, appropriate. But so that this can be resolved, so that it does come back to a restoration of the original form using materials that were at least closely sourced to be what was used at the time in terms of what's reasonably available, and that we have a follow-up so that it doesn't just get left as it is. I find those two inorganic shapes just terribly troubling with all the effort you've gone through here.
Oh.
And it's not just you.
It put me through the roof.
No, and it's not just you, but it's, if this is what we accept now,
I agree.
How can we hold the town to as high a standard if this isn't really what we talked about at the joint meeting? So I apologize for going on about that, but I can't understate the importance of this topic.
It's the Macy's building, the destruction of that sidewalk. They came to us. We told them what they should do, and they did exactly, or Tom, whatever his name is, Rob, did exactly what he wanted to do, and I've brought it up several times, nobody's done anything about it.
Well, we'll continue to push
It
that.
stays there. But let me just put in that the town, over a period of time, has had the HDC take part and and pass on the streetscapes, particularly in the old historic district. I have been on it, and we've done sidewalks here, there, curbstones, and everything else that involves wider than somebody's front stoop. And either we got to do it, or we say screw it. It is what's going to maintain the streets and the houses. Every house has a slightly different entryway and paving.
Could I offer an editorial comment, which may be out of place? I mean, one of the things that I would like to see from this, and I'm happy to come back to say I'd like to find a way to get that corrected, is that the town is simply ignoring all this paving. And everyone's worried about safety and potholes and water and all the rest, and they're simply ignoring it. There's no maintenance. And the idea that maintenance has to come in the form of a gigantic project to rip everything up and bed it in concrete means that they're letting this go until it becomes completely deteriorated. This sort of repair took 3 days. It's not a huge input of labor. 3 days and not a lot of mechanical energy and not a lot of materials, sand, stone, and humans. And we're delighted to work with you to say this, in the end, this should be just right.
I gotta say, man.
You go.
So, I want to be clear that I'm not throwing the town under the bus under this. They weren't even involved in the project. This is about establishing a reasonable, transparent policy and procedure that we apply consistently, that it makes it easier for everyone to come in and do a job like this, because we don't have to debate it. We've looked at it, we've established it in advance. It's done. It can be written down just like we have with our HVAC mini splits, or if we're establishing particular fence policies and so on and so forth. And as to the maintenance, I mean, I'll editorialize a little bit. I've got some involvement in the idea of where those costs are. That ship of the town taking care of maintenance on these capital assets has changed. The philosophy has changed, and they are proactively, unfortunately in some instances and in some people's minds, way too fast, working on maintenance of these. I mean, we've got the downtown sidewalks projects, which is a primary example of a huge effort on behalf of the town government's initiative to start to do this maintenance.
That's not maintenance.
But the missing link is, you're correct, it's not maintenance in the fact that, in the sense that it's never been done and everything in such a disrepair. But we have new personnel in place. They're trying to establish, let's get things up to baselines, let's do the work. Whether they had done the maintenance on this or not, my other point is, without a process in place to make this simpler for everyone, this would be the same thing, we'd be doing it. And if we don't have a process in place, and the HDC is gonna be involved, and if we're not gonna be involved, great, I don't have to sit here and talk about this stuff, because I won't feel compelled to feel responsible for it. But if we are gonna be involved, we need to have a process in place, and it needs to be reasonable and transparent and consistent. So that's my little speech.
One of the other things that you might not know, but I held the first meeting here with Rob about the streets and the trees, and it has not yet been decided, as of the meeting last Wednesday, as to what will happen to Main Street and the sidewalks if it's all set in concrete paving underneath the stones. Where is the water going to go? The water is going to go to the foot of Main Street at the Persist building. There's 2 drains there that will take the water. The rest is going to go down to Straight Wharf. There are many things that are still being considered as to how the bricks or the stones should be relayed, and that's something that we are working on as of the committee.
Well, that's good. That's why you're on that committee.
And we have to know how to do it right so we don't screw it up and have Main Street floating, and people who are in position to do it have to listen.
That would be nice if they did. Okay, well, so this was for me at least, a very enlightening discussion Thank you for all your research. Really appreciate it. Okay,
Am I still on the commission? I haven't spoken yet.
John, this is not even an application. But go ahead. Go
I'm
ahead.
ready to speak, but I can't. It's a
no,
bad
no.
situation. I
No.
see sitting here. It happens to me a lot.
Fine.
All right?
Go ahead.
All right. Boy.
No, John, go
I'll
ahead.
make it quick. Page 7. Okay, you have a plan of existing pavement, and you have a photo above it, reset in sand. That's been done.
Yes.
Okay. In doing that, okay, when the town goes in to do their cobblestone and curb repairs, if they move these, you should have you always put curbs in first, and it's a backup between the two.
The curbs were straightened and they're in there tightly. But the part of the debate is whether the curbs should be set in concrete. I mean, there are a lot of pieces that affect this that are now the subject of the town's committee.
All right, well, you say shouldn't use concrete. That's
No,
the
I
answer.
absolutely agree with you.
My other section is page 6, and on that, I think what Steve said was right on those 3 stones as well as the whole project, you know?
I'm completely agreeing.
You can't get somebody that's just a layman. You gotta get professionals to do this right. I hope the town does. I don't know who's gonna be in charge of it, but there should be professional people that can help in suggestions, because this is gonna be one project, the whole town's gonna be watching. I'll knock
you,
it
John.
out for there, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So, Mr. Chairman, just with respect to formalities, can we take it that this kind of falls under the other business, Nantucket sidewalk update type information, since this was brought up by our representative previously when that topic was being heard?
Yeah.
Okay, so
That would be, yeah.
And then the other thing I'd just like to say is I would like to ask that we continue this just as an agenda item as a separate matter to determine if we're gonna request. I don't want to sit here and waste people's time talking about this stuff, and no one wants me to, but if it's gonna be something that we're gonna be responsible for and people are gonna look at, then I think we should push that we want these applications in front of us and suss it out.
I'm with you. This is gonna stay, I promised Diane that this item would remain on our other business agenda in perpetuity, just so that we can leave the discussion open.
Thank you.
Okay? Thanks so much for your time.
Can I just ask one thing? I think at this point, we're not proposing to do anything further on this, just try to get it all settled for the season and then back away for the season before coming back in.
That's a really good idea.
Okay.
Because you know it's gonna get torn up anyway.
Everything there can be lifted, it's all in sand.
And that's the good news. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay, so moving right along.
Thanks, Brian.
48, Walsh.
I'm gonna step out. I have an engagement that I have to go to.
Is it here or just
An
Birthday
engagement.
party.
An
Birthday
engagement.
party with cake and ice cream.
bring me one?
How are you?
Hey, Rodney, welcome to HTC.
See you, Jess.
That was interesting.
Bye.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm good. How are you, John?
Takes too long.
It's okay.
My board on this one? John Hedden.
It's Cole, Coombs, McLaughlin, Oliver, and Welch.
Okay. Oh, right, our deck.
Yes.
I felt like we were like back there.
We were that close.
We were, right?
Yes, we were. Right. The consensus was that the brick
You're still on Main
I've been
Street.
listening.
Yeah. I don't see any running bond here, Rodney.
No,
All right.
it's just shingles.
Oh, yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah, we went from the baluster approach to a shingle and tried to connect.
And that was at our behest.
Indeed.
Yeah. Okay, anything else?
No, that.
All right.
I think that turning the stairs to the side makes it a
Oh,
lot
that too.
quieter.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah, I think that was
Yeah.
a great suggestion.
That was a good move. Okay. Was that it? Val?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's done what we've asked of him.
Okay, so John has made a motion to approve this application.
Try to do that.
Unless there's any further discussion, I'll entertain that motion. All those in favor of John's motion to approve is submitted.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Okay.
this was a fun one. I appreciate all your help.
Why? We're not to 7 o'clock yet.
The next one's gonna be long.
It is?
Yes,
It won't be longer than 7 though.
You are optimistic.
We're on break now?
Well, Mr. Hedden, hang on a second, guys. Is this gonna be a long application?
I hope not. I don't see why it would be.
Why?
Here, let's take a break now.
yeah.
All right, because we have an
Sorry.
attorney that has to make a vote.
Oh.
Really?
I'm sure that's gonna worry you.
I'm actually
Wait.
missing my own son's graduation party to be here, so.
Well, somebody's gotta have it under control at the house, don't they?
What grade is that?
High school.
Because,
What year is he in?
Harpo's.
Hey, whoever needs to take a
Sorry.
break, make it
No,
fast.
you're fine, Matt.
Harpo's son was a senior,
Yeah.
and he graduated on Saturday.
Yeah, but
he
the
did,
parties-
they
the
had
parties are-
parties
Oh,
after.
Yeah, there are too many parties in one day.
I
They
can't
literally-
believe you have a graduation.
I know, me either. Happens quick. 6
John voted.
kindergarten and high school. Sorry.
Hey, we gotta hurry it along. John,
Where's he gonna go?
You're right about that.
Not UV.
I don't,
It's one of the things I have on my list of
it's in northern
rules
Vermont.
that
Yeah, that's about the only thing
that
in
are
Northern
not
Vermont.
written down anywhere, but that we follow, and we should know about them, like using high gloves on feeding with things
No, I
that
think
are against.
it doesn't have
literally
to be,
called
like,
northern
we
Vermont.
can spend less time
It's
establishing
in
the
the-
regulations than we spend
Oh, I
sitting here
know,
talking.
my brother went to Linden State.
And then
Well,
we never
so
have to do it
that's
again.
Linden
But,
State
and
and
the
Johnson.
town, the
merged.
Oh, is that
select
what they call it now?
would listen to us,
Just
that's
ask.
annoying.
Yeah, you gotta be
I mean,
careful
to
where
be
you park,
fair to
because
them,
otherwise
I
you
think
fall out of
they
the car and
tried
go
to
to
set up a
hell.
work group
And
that is
Linden-
supposed to be
Linden
coming
State.
up with a process.
We did, we've come up with
Yeah.
every
We
process.
went up there for Parents Weekend.
Back when Freddie Grossman was chairman, it's one of the things that we did. And they have trickled out, they don't find them
Well, if you can make the
convenient.
7.
I saw,
They go and
It's
Matt,
It's frustrating.
Matt,
is
I
it,
saw your
fast
son's
boat?
picture in
Between
the
4.5 and 8
Inky
hours a week. sitting here.
graduation lineup.
Yeah.
And life is too short to just have it be for nothing.
And some
And to have one
Good,
of the
yeah.
energy, put it, just wipe it out.
Well, that's what I mean, yeah, I mean, if you're not gonna,
They would do it, so.
He is a good-looking young man.
what did we do with
I bet he's
6
smart too.
Matticat? The dormer.
Which one is
We
that?
approved that.
Thank you.
Stephen?
6 Matticat?
Oh, if somebody just said we approved it?
We approved it, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, just for my notes.
Oh,
Six
you're
Connecticut, it was approved through
you're
staff.
the heir apparent to John McLaughlin. We're gonna scan all of his stuff.
Well, sometimes John emails me and asks me questions, so I
Does he really?
figured it's just easier to write it down now.
Really? About how certain things went?
Yeah, if there's a question or,
No, he really
so
keeps very meticulous records.
yeah, and he's good, it's primarily, well, he sends stuff to all of us, I guess.
Which he should.
It looks like the crowd has thinned out a little bit.
Hey,
We only got
Wait.
like 2 left.
No, I meant this crowd. Welcome to the HTC, by the way.
No, we've beefed up.
I just want you guys to know, you've seen I'm all warmed up.
This isn't Stone Alley.
Good, ready to go.
Don't confuse this one with Stone Alley.
Which is this one?
this is Wall Winnet. I don't believe you
112.
were
I get
around.
it.
No, she was on it originally.
She was?
Uh-huh. And then they withdrew it and resubmitted.
Where's John?
Oh, you were on the version that was,
November.
Early.
And Diane
yeah,
was in
it was-
November.
Matt was not associated with it back then. Wall Winnet Road, it's,
That little house, the
is it
little
one
one-story
or
house that
two
was not
houses
gonna be
away from the
one-story.
Wall Winnet Hotel? Two.
Two houses, yeah.
Have you been out there? Along Warwick Road?
I was out there to view the site pool.
What about, did you go out far enough to see the Mellon house? Is it still there?
And we kept trying to say, look, put the
What do
bathrooms
you
there,
mean?
people use this room anyway.
On the spit between where the hotel is and going out to Great Point.
Yeah.
The big house, the very last house, I think.
Yeah, I did work on that house.
Did you? It's, well, when I was
Or the
as
lot, or the last, whatever.
selectman, it was owned by the Mellons.
Well,
Mellon
it's-
Museum.
So,
Okay, so it's not me.
In the ballroom, yeah, but that's.
Mellon was married to a woman that died. The two of them had a daughter.
Restaurant, yeah.
So that wife died, and then he remarried. Bunny. He remarried, like Bunny was the second wife.
Right.
Right? And you know Bunny Mellon with the
Yeah.
big compound?
Yeah.
So the first wife and Mellon had a daughter, and she's the one that, her name is Conover. And so she's the one that owns that house. So she is Mellon's daughter by the first marriage. But no, the house is fine. They just did a massive renovation of it.
Yeah.
Ronnie De Silva built that back in the early 80s
Yeah.
when he was doing.
Is Steve on it?
Hey, yeah, let's get going because
Same
we.
architect as the Gamble House.
Exactly.
Oh, please,
Yeah,
let's not
Price.
go there.
Vincent Price.
Wow.
Anyway,
Yeah.
we're back in session.
They want from
Okay,
every
so
column.
somebody needs to make a vote here, so I hope that,
No, it's too late, he's not gonna make it.
Oh, he's
It
not?
took too long on the one before that.
Sorry.
On Tuesday.
Okay,
So he'll have to find somebody to do for 2 hours.
I'm not on it though.
no.
Take care of him,
I remember.
Where's John?
You haven't seen Matt's version, so, let's see, we're gonna do the usual. So I just want you guys to go around, starting with Matt and ending with you. We're just gonna give all the names for the record and, whether you're for or in opposition to and who you represent.
And Ray, the board is you, John,
I think I already have
Steve, and Val. That's it. TJ's not here.
Oh, maybe this is.
Ray, Johnny, Val, and Steve.
Because TJ's not here.
Okay, Mr. Chair, should I start the roll call here?
Yeah, go for it.
So I'm Matthew McEachern from Emeritus. We're responsible for the design of the project.
Arthur Reed, I'm co-counsel with Nick Brown, who is over here from Pierce that way in Boston. I'm obviously the three colleagues and having different in opposition. And we have here,
Linda Williams, in opposition.
and Mrs. Arnold. We all represent, we are a
Excuse me, I
family.
couldn't hear your name.
Gail Arnold, 110 Robin
Thank you. Is that G-A-L-E? Like G-A-L-E?
Oh.
Thank you.
And Nick Brown from Pierce Atwood, representing Arnold.
Thank you very much. Okay, Matt, you're first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So at the last meeting, there were two concentrated comments. One was specifically on the north elevation. I think the board collectively felt that the north and south elevation, but more so the north elevation, had a different architectural language, if you will. And I think it primarily had to do with the roof pitch and the mass of the primary mass, if you will. And there was also some discussion about having the existing cottage express itself a little bit more clearly. And also in an attempt to break what was a fairly long elevation of shingled wall space, which is on A2.2, which is the previous north elevation. And Stephen, you in particular had said that there was some way to break up that lower piece where the old cottage is or was, which was a great suggestion, because actually by expressing the existing cottage's roof pitch, it actually demonstrates that intersecting gable is of the same pitch, and I thought that that was a really great suggestion, so thank you. So what we've done is express the existing cottage more clearly, that existing rake line, and then actually pushed and reduced the amount of second floor space and the footprint. So that was, again, in good faith here, trying to listen to some of the comments that the neighbors and representatives have said. So anyways.
Matt?
Yep.
Can I just stop you on that? So it says reduced width of that main gable, and that was done to express the existing cottage. It looks like it was pushed back by maybe a foot, because there's no dimension appended to it.
It's somewhere in that range, not
Less
more
than
than a
a
foot,
foot. Less than
but
a
probably
foot.
between 6 inches and a foot.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. All right, continue.
But I think that worked. Secondarily, and the board did not ask us this, actually, I think Linda, the neighbor's representative, had asked that we try to align the windows on the east elevation. I'm on sheet A 2.1. And we were able to reconfigure the interior so that we were able to do that to align the fenestration. So that was another thing that we had tried to address. Both the HD, actually the board didn't mention that, but Linda did, and we thought that was important to respond to her. Finally, we actually took the chimney and shifted it inside the building. We did that by widening the the actual gable so that it basically disappeared. Those are like the bulk of the comments that the board had made, and more we could. We tried to address some of the neighbors' concerns. And again, I would just reiterate that I feel that this structure is completely contextual to the neighborhood. I would also suggest, if looking at existing ground cover, both first to second floor. If you look at the second floor square footage of the structure, there's a lot of one-story additive pieces to the structure. Just comparative data points of first floor to second floor. That is a ratio number that you could actually apply to any house in the area. And I think that if that research was done, I'm sure that we'd come up on the lower side of that. So I don't want to be long-winded. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Linda, are you first?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I feel like, I think this is your phrase, right? Death by 1,000 cuts here.
I didn't make that up.
Yeah, I know, but it's come up here. And we have, if you look at the November minutes, Abby was on it, and Diane was on it, and Val was on it, and John and you. We have a lot of the same concerns that we had when the original design came in. Ray, we're still on this issue of the demo. It is a tragedy, your comments were, it's a tragedy to call this an addition. It agrees the existing structure should be standout. The scale of the proposed addition is so large and conspicuous should come down dramatically. It has not come down in height.
Yes, it has.
Not much. It
Well,
looks like it's got a
you just
70,
made an
I don't
incorrect
want to
statement.
argue.
Well,
But if you want to counter, that's fine. But from a visual perspective, this looks massive. It's 70 some odd feet long. I don't know exactly the length because I got a little tiny copy. And it's quadrupling the size of the mass of this structure on that bluff. And it is the closest structure to the bluff. They have been to the Concom already, apparently. And going up to 2 stories, which is what this is going to be with high eaves on at least the south side still, and some of the north side, is going to change the nature of the way this house sits in this location that close to the water, which you have full jurisdiction over, compared to all the others. And I've shown this the last time, is every structure here. 99% of them are 1.5 story with low eaves, even the ones with dormers, even the ones that were built more recently. And a substantial portion of them are natural to weather, and this should not be white. I don't care that the existing little 1-story structure from the, I think, the 60s or 70s is white. It's got a very low profile. It sits down in that little valley there next to it. And it should not be white at all. And if you look at the north elevation, I don't know when the last time the HDC approved a 7 pitch. And now we have 2 elements that look like they're 7 pitch on the north side.
one of which is the original cottage.
All right.
Well, no, because you've done something to the back of the roof. I don't know what you've done to the back of the roof. have extended it or done something to it. But that does not mean that a main cross gable should be a 7 pitch. I think that's completely out of the question. And on that north side, you have a dormer dying into a gable past another dormer, which is not typically what the HCC has approved in the past. And just because you have that quasi-cross gable from the north to the south, which don't have any relationship to each other, it still looks, because of the high eaves, because every single dormer is a flush dormer, it is a second floor. I don't care about including the first floor that's well over fenestrated with Mondo windows, which not a single structure on the bluff has, on that one-story piece. You cannot incorporate that one-story piece into your second floor, how small the second floor is. Because when you look at the main body of the thing that's 70 feet long, or whatever it ends up being, it looks like it's one long ridge. Now, the typical maximum ridge on Broken is 50 feet. I got about a foot difference between the ridge running from the water side going east with the ridge that's coming off the backside of that quasi-cross gable. It looks huge because it's basically a full second floor with all the flush dormers. I don't have any pop-up dormer. They're all flush dormers, and typically in the past, we've asked that that be adjusted. So I'll go down the list of things that are typical, and I'm going to put this into the record. You have the packet in the record already. A lot of these structures along the bluff, until you get down to where it turns to Pocomo, have low eaves and regular dormers, but low eaves. This does not. It has high eaves and flush dormers. Most of the other ones have pop-up dormers. So the same concerns exist, and I'll put this into the record so maybe somebody wants to look at the same comments that were there in November are the same ones we have now. It should be a story and a half. It should have lower eaves. It should be natural to weather since they're quadrupling the size of the structure. On the water side, it is still over fenestrated, and Diane's bugaboo is easily visible on the water side. Everything's ganged on the water side. It's well over fenestrated. There's more than 50% fenestration on at least one of those elevations, and you've got almost a see-through in the middle that connects the one-story element to the main mass, because you've got a 9 light or a 12 light on the other side of those two things that are doors. And then you go to the right on the west elevation, and these things are windows. I don't believe those are doors, are they? I don't know what windows those are. I don't know what these are. They're not marked as doors. Right here.
Well,
should I answer that, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, because we'd like to know what they are.
I think I can answer it.
Are they doors?
It's basically a door panel that is fixed or whatever, but it's not a door.
These are windows.
Those are doors. The two center units are doors, and the two outer ones
You
are
are on
fixed.
the west elevation.
Yeah, I'm on the west.
Yeah.
It is over fenestrated, and every single thing is ganged except for the little gable window, and that's not appropriate. You won't find, I've given all of you the packets with the individual pictures as well as this from Gray Point entrance all the way down to Pocomo. No one has that much fenestration and ganged windows on a single structure that faces that harbor. This is going to be an astronomical change to the setting and completely out of context. It is, as I mentioned, it's closer to the bluff, so going up 2 stories is going to be a big impact. I'd rather have the main piece, all of it, moved back. That's up to the owner to figure that out. We'd like the whole thing moved back off the bluff, or the more of the second floor element pushed back behind the 1 story. So what you see from the water is pretty much the 1 story. It has to be fixed, but the 1 story, and move the addition back. The pitch changes are all over the place. I mean, the 7 pitch is completely unacceptable. We don't approve, you haven't, in the 20 years I was involved.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Approved a 7 pitch.
Can I have a piece of information?
thing.
Who is we? You keep saying we.
I'm saying when the years that I was on the board.
Okay, I just wanted clarification.
They never approved a 7 pitch unless it was on an existing structure in the old historic district because it had weird pitches to begin with.
Thank you. All right, let's move
An
beyond
8
that.
pitch is the minimum. There's no 1-story elements. I know Val, the last time we were here, I know she reviewed the packet. The last time we were here, I did put down all the square footages of all the houses that are along the bluff and closer pictures of them both on the water side and the backside, which most of them you can't see from Walnut Road. And the reason why some of them have larger footprints is because there were substantial changes made to a lot of these older structures from the 20s, 30s, and 40s. Over time, they did additive massing. There was no additive massing. You can't consider the sunroom additive massing. There's no additive massing on the structure on the main mass at all. That would be typical additive massing. The other structures that have larger footprints have a lot of one-story elements, including the neighbor at 110. There's a lot of these one-story little pieces that were added on, or a story and a half, or a loft that were added on over time. This is not picking up that vernacular at all. We have odd gables here and there, we got flush dormers here and there. So it's not a typical additive massing as if the core historic structure was still there, which is pretty much what's happening to every structure along that bluff, except for what they have proposed here.
Thank you, Linda.
Hang on one second, I added something else here. And I'm going back to the issue of the demo. I don't know what architectural style this is. I see it's got cottage corners, which the original doesn't have. And a lot of these don't have cottage corners, but they have natural to weather trim. The ones on the water tend to be lower profile. The issue of demo versus addition, Ray, you were very clear about that the first time. This is maintaining maybe 10 square feet of a facade, because you're going up over, you're setting it back slightly, but you've got an inset deck, a gable over the top of this other thing on the right side, so that's obliterated. The left side, they don't have those kinds of windows in the existing structure, so that wall's being changed. The north wall's being changed. There's not those windows there either. South wall's being obliterated for the most part. This is a demo. You can call it an addition, but the addition's wagging the original house. It's a demo. And if they're demolishing this thing, they're trying to stay inside the 50 because they got COMCOM out of it.
Okay.
It's a demo. The building department's gonna consider it a demo. They've gone are the days we could keep a corner. I know.
We're not the building department.
But gone are the days when we could keep a corner. They don't do that anymore.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Ma'am, would you like to say anything?
Well, I don't have any legal comments, but I will say that
We don't do the legal comments.
I've lived there since 1963, and I first bought 123, we bought 123 in 1974. And I had always wanted to live in Nancy Jones' sweet little cottage with wonderful little garden. And finally, she put it on sale and told me about it. So I moved to 110. It was the largest investment of my life. It was a cottage. It was similar to cottages nearby, like the relative of the Jones, Mrs. Callie, and then the famous editor, the Maxwells. And after that, that's also, the next house is also small. It belonged to the Bells, the Belfry, and it is a tiny house that had a porch put on 3 sides. Enormously wealthy people have moved to Wauwinet, like Zarella, who bought 3 of the hotel cottages, and he left them cottages. They aren't elongated tract homes with tons of windows. When you look at the west, you need to have the right kind of porch or you'll be blinded. So most of the people who built cottages knew that. This is the first building that is totally not in character with everything around it.
Thank you, ma'am. Would either of you like to speak? Yeah.
Good evening. Again, I'm Nick Brown from Pierce Atwood. I'm here on behalf of Ms. Arnold. I want to, the client would like to reiterate and emphasize her objections to this project as it's currently proposed and conceived. Proposed addition is not an addition at all. It's tantamount to a tear down and a rebuild. The original house is unrecognizable, and the proposed dwelling is not in keeping with the historic character of the neighborhood. The north and south elevations in particular are problematic. As Linda's already said, there's no sense of additive massing. It has the appearance of a large single facade going along. This isn't surprising when you consider that the house has doubled or tripled in size and the height has doubled in size. The large scale is particularly inappropriate for this house because of how close it is to the water. It's closer than any other house around it. When you consider the number of windows on the west elevation, it's clear that further revisions are needed. My client wants to emphasize and again request that the commission pursue further revisions to this project so that she does not need to pursue an appeal.
Thank you. Arthur?
I don't have anything more to add.
I just wanted to add one more thing. I forgot about it when I was looking at this. The structures directly across the street from from these properties are all one story. They were the
Yeah,
Backus cottages. They're all one story.
I think.
And they've been massaged, but very little. And the one on the north, directly to the north of this one, is a one-story natural weather. And Gail's house is a story and a half with a bunch of one-story additions, and she's natural weather. And then you can see there's quite a few natural weathers as you go down the cliff. And that's why we're concerned, is that it's the glazing and the massing are very out of scale for where it is sitting. Even that close to the Wall-Winnet house. That Wall-Winnet house is, what, 120 some odd feet off the bluff, and it's got lower eaves, and it's sort of for all it is, it's got a very quiet architecture.
It does.
I would just add that the house fills the entire width of the lot in a way that other houses around there do not.
Thanks.
Sure, I promise I'll be brief. I just have a couple points just to reiterate.
Well, you were going to talk about the ridge height, right? Because your claim is that it went down since the original submission.
It went down, but just the notion that it's not a story and a half structure.
No, listen.
So I don't want to waste. Okay.
Flush
Thank you. In the interest
It's
of,
not a two-story house in the sense that this board reviews two-story houses, but that's a semantic thing. I mean, we're looking at the drawings, we know what we're looking at.
Okay.
But thank you. John, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to make a statement if I can.
Sure.
This house sits now as an application to add on to the existing small house, a part of it.
Yes.
I'm trying to say
Yes.
some of it.
Yes.
I agree with that. That's a good thought. The fact that 7-inch, 6-inch pitch on that roof,
Well-
comment was made.
Continue, go, sorry.
It's pre-existing. They're going to include it into it.
Well, yes.
Yes.
So the existing house has a 6 and 12 roof pitch, which you see on Matt's drawing. The objection that was made on this side of the table was that the main roof, the new roof, is a 7 and 12. But I don't need to remind you that, the minimum roof pitch in the guidelines
In
is
the case
7.
of being a new roof, that would come under the 7-inch minimum pitch anyway.
Right, correct.
Now, there's some markings here. Is there a request in this for a chimney? Two windows?
There is a chimney on this building, yes.
They're highlighted, that's why.
That's because the chimney, if you look at the previous application, the chimney used to be outside the building, and Matt pushed it inside so that all you see is the chimney and not the whole
I'll
firebox.
make it short. The panorama you had, there's 22 or 24 houses in there.
Mhm.
And I think it's 68% of them are over 25 feet, 24 feet, whatever, that close, And I think there was a question about are these doors or windows? Well, it says right here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9 of them. It all says doors.
Yeah, Matt confirmed that
And
they're
the
doors.
other is that I think the rest of the structure and its siding and what's going to be visible from the water, which you've got to have a dang good pair of binoculars to find a little window like some of them. And I think it's a fine design for the neighborhood. It fits right in. I don't think there's any problem with it because we got more out there and there's going to be a lot more coming. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Stephen, you ready?
Yeah, can I just get a clarification? Comments were made, we're not reviewing the November application, correct? This is a brand new application.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
Different architect,
That's-
different design.
That was my understanding, but
Yeah.
I was confused. I think, with respect to the demo versus addition, I mean, at least at what I'm looking at, we're seeing the better part of 2 sides, 3 sides, and 2 full sides, at least a partial third side. And the roof, has the roof pitch changed?
No.
Okay,
So
so
always
we're,
been you mean on the new?
no, on the existing structure.
Oh, no, it's just 6.
And that's gonna remain, okay, so I'm a little confused about the comments about the demo versus the addition. So from what I'm seeing, we have an addition, which is as Mr. McLaughlin articulated. I will echo the chairman's comments. We're looking at the drawings and we know what we're looking at. And I'd add that we viewed the structures in these areas over our own lifetimes on Nantucket, and specifically as a result of having this be on the view list. As a result of that, I did take a look at these structures from the water. I'm having a hard time reconciling some of the comments that have been put on the record with what I saw. I didn't see a consistent style of architecture from home to home, and even on some of the homes themselves. I did see, for instance, the Bacchus cottages, obviously those are all similar architecture, but those are on one lot, or maybe they're conjoined lots or something. I don't know the details of that, but it's across the street. It's not on the water side. I'm having difficulty reconciling this comment that this is closer to the bluff. I mean, I'm looking at the locust plan. I'm not scaling it. I'm getting something like maybe 10 feet closer, but that's the existing structure, which is remaining at 1 story with a 612 roof. So the rest of the mass is behind that line. What I did is I took a line and I literally drew it from one lot side to the other, from the halfway point of what's closest to the water and what's furthest away on the east elevation. I did the same thing with 110. And then I just scaled it out with a piece of paper for relative proportionality. It appears to be a little bit more than double the width of the paths that are shown going to the beach from the respective homes. So that's the basis of that comment. If that's going to be a point that keeps being brought up, I would suggest to the applicant that they address it by documenting the actual dimensions of some of these homes and bringing them in. With respect to the inconsistencies in my experience walking through there and some of the testimony, I would suggest that the image inlay that was provided, or it would do an inlay of the elevation of this structure. The applicant should provide an inlay of the elevations within that panoramic set of images, or a line drawing showing the elevations of this home relative to the 2 homes to the left and the 2 homes to the right. I think the statements about the other structures or relationships to the bluffs have addressed, because there's some reconciliation issues there.
Stephen, just a point of clarification.
Yeah.
On that last point.
Yeah.
As seen from the water, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Public beach.
Sorry if I didn't mention that.
Yeah.
And then I think the square footages, if that's going to continue to be a question of the first story and the second story, I think it should just be documented for the record. I mean, I'm not necessarily as concerned about those because I've done my homework. The opposition's agent had brought those up, and I felt they were relevant concerns, so I looked into it while we were sitting at the table from the property record card, and I don't see a concern there, because this is actually smaller by almost a third versus 100R, and I believe that it's about the same or slightly smaller than 110 and a little bit larger than 106 square footages. Having said all that, with respect to the actual design that's been presented, I was able to look at this earlier. Matt, I do appreciate the changes you've made. I think that the concern I have at this point is, well, first of all, I think the changes to the north elevation, regardless of whose suggestion it was to articulate that, is definitely helpful, because it starts to show the relationship of additive massing, and it starts to show the relationship of this portion of the structure to the rest, as opposed to it just being like a large conglomerate. I would ask, to the extent possible, you consider, I think it could help your case, and when I say your case, and I mean in terms of an approval with the HDC, there is still a disconnect between the roof pitches, where you've got your 4 7s and 6s on this side, and then you've got 12, I think 6 9s and 12s on your other elevations. And I'm not suggesting they all need to change, up to you, design elements. Specific, and you know, you can, I would suggest though, however, that you could be looking at the shallower roof pitches could come into play, for instance, on your west elevation, where you do have the new addition of the great room, which is, I think was what it's labeled in the floor plan, that has the chimney, and it starts to look like, okay, we've got different structures that were added over time. So that may be helpful. I think that also addresses an actual appropriateness concern I have, which is the size of the mass of the great room relative to, if you look on the east elevation, which is the front, and I think customarily that is what would be most important. I'm kind of torn between the mass of the primary element facing the east of the main house, which is that 1.5 story gable, what I call 1 3/4 story, and the great room. Now, I guess it could be part of a story that this was, you know, a lot of times garages are a little bit larger, and this was converted from a garage. Maybe addressing that roof pitch in some manner would help to eliminate or mitigate the concern about the overall mass of that side versus the main pronounced portion of the primary. It may also be a matter of a couple feet in width, I don't know. But I think that, to me, that's a concern with the design. I think with respect to the design as it sits itself, if you didn't have to relate this to the existing structure more, I believe we should. It would be completely appropriate in almost many locations on Nantucket. It has an essence of a design element that is almost timeless. You're utilizing, you know, there's obviously there were some comments that were made by both the commissioners and opposition, the small elements that could be tweaked here or there, but I see those as primarily subjective. I think overall the massing is appropriate. I think overall the way that the dormers relate to the structure is appropriate. The covered porches, and then the details are, as they say, details. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Val. Ready?
Give me a few more minutes, I'm just making some notes.
Okay. So I think I'm gonna jump in out of sequence, but that's okay. So I'm gonna pick up on this point that Stephen made about the roof pitches. One of the comments that was made in reference to this, that there's no single story. Well, there actually is, but the fact that it has a 12 and 12 roof pitch over it, and I am referring to that great room, is not helping anything. And it's a cathedral space, so I'm thinking, why does it need to be so tall?
That was my thing I was writing down. Good.
That's why I called on you first, because I wanted you to say it. But so it sort of begs the question, first of all, the 7 and 12 roof pitch, this is a double-edged sword, because one of the tasks that Matthew has in front of him is to try and keep the ridge height of the building down. The way he does that is by minimizing the roof pitch that's really not going to be highly visible when you're out on the beach. You know, it's going to be visible from the side, which I'm going to get to in a minute. So I accept the 7 and 12 just because it's keeping the building low, which I think in my mind is more important than it being an 8 and 12, which would have the ridge higher. Anyway, the 12 and 12 roof pitches, they sort of hinted if we were to give this building a style, I would say that it's closest to cottage Victorian, you know, because of the 12 and 12 and the rake overhangs and that sort of thing. But I would ask you maybe to investigate a roof pitch that's less than 12 and 12 on those steeply pitched things, mainly in the interest of getting that single-story mass to look more like a single-story mass. I mean, this theoretically, if you added the dormer to this, it would be a story and a half. So you don't need all that space. You can still fit a window up there, and the overall effect of the silhouette as seen from the water will be lower. Also, I'd like to address the door/window controversy, and call them whatever. The 4 doors facing out to the water in particular, I think, is a lot of glass that doesn't need to be there. And I mean, are they operable doors?
The 2 center ones are operable.
Okay, so then why don't we have doors and then windows on the side so that we have a more traditional arrangement there?
You could try that. I mean, the thought was that it was like a larger opening that was infilled. So
I think it's just reading very contemporary, and I'm not sure that that's the appropriate thing to be doing with this little cottage. So one of the things I mentioned at the last meeting, of course, I'm sort of going beyond the scope of our stuff, is this whole idea of the Concom saving that existing footprint, and I had offered up the idea of moving the whole building back. It didn't seem like that went anywhere. And so the real idea here is to minimize the visual impact of this building, and I think that if we're not going to move it further back, I would be in favor of it going from white to some color other than white, namely gray. I think the gray trim would go miles towards minimizing the visual impact of that. I know from firsthand experience. I did a project out on Abrams Point where the initial cottage was white trim. You could see it from the town dock. It's gray now, and it's about 10 times the size of what it was before. It's gray, and you can't see it at all. Or natural weather. But I don't mind the gray. Abrams Point is all painted gray now, and you can't see it at all. It just completely blends in. Those, I believe, let's see. Once we talk about that, let me make sure I got everything. Color. That's it. That's it for me. So, are you ready, Val?
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys have actually touched on a lot of the notes I made.
Underscore them. In other words, tell us again, just so that it's clear.
I as well think that there are so many different style houses here that there is not a particular style. Maybe some of the cottages, like across the street, are congruent, but the pictures, the ones Linda gave us, and I looked too for did some investigation, found some pictures, are they're all virtually as high, if not higher. Everyone has windows and doors facing the water for obvious reasons. It did to me also look like there are houses that are closer to the water, and perhaps they're not so upsetting because you can't see them from the road. I have not gone on the beach. I don't know how all of these look, but I did find a drone picture of the area with the hotel, and this is the cottage that we're talking about. Is some of the fear that all of this vegetation is going to go away, so it's going to be more visible?
They've already cut down trees there.
Well, they're allowed to do that, but I just have a question. So that might be some of the concern, and coming closer to the neighbor on your south probably is part of the concern as well. So I think if that element drops to really a true one story, and I agree with Ray, I think because it's cathedral and it has that gable window, it's not gonna hurt that space, I don't believe, unless there was a loft in there or something, but.
It'll be cheaper to heat and cool.
One of the concerns that I have that maybe no one has mentioned yet was the see-through effect of this room with the 4 doors on the front, or windows, whatever they are, and the 4 doors on the back. If perhaps on the front of that mass, there were some windows as opposed to the doors across the front, it would be more conventional looking toward the street. That's just a thought. You are stuck with a narrower lot than most of these, I see that, so you are in a bit of a pickle with that arrangement by virtue of what it is. The height, you said that, hold on. I am not sure, and I apologize for this, I was not on the first one, and I do think it's a disconnect because it's a completely new project in my eyes, so I don't know about those comments. But was this house historic? So is that the concern? Because why do we care how much of it's demoed or?
No.
It has to keep a wall or some partial part of it because of Concom.
It's a Concom.
Okay.
I mean,
So,
We've already been through the
I think that's just semantics there. And I actually was looking at the NHA for the house next door, because that is an old house. And here is what that looks like. I got it off the link site, actually. I don't even know from what year. Is this the house next door?
Yeah.
From standing in the yard, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The main mass is the main mass.
That's the house to the
And then
to the
there was
south.
this old photo, and I couldn't tell if this was, I think it's the same house, and they alluded to it on their website. Was this part of their house, or was that a next door neighbor?
That's a slope house.
Because it looks like
That's
it
not
was
hers.
significantly larger.
That's
Is
not
that
theirs.
108?
108, yeah.
108, yeah, that's the
Okay,
next house
so it's
down.
the house next down. But what that does show is there was a large structure next door then, which was tall.
Yeah.
So I have always liked the front and the back of this, Matt. I think that it does work. I guess I would just say some minor things could maybe go a long way. Like, you have a space of shingles, 1 or 2 rows or 1.5 rows above the windows in the dormer. If you could drop that down, that would
Oh, yeah.
give an illusion
Yeah.
of less height.
Definitely.
I think perhaps on the west side, the middle door that is a connector between the great room and the rest of the house, could you change those to something different?
the dormers.
The doors themselves, something.
There's a double door sort of sandwiched in
Which you
there.
can see through all of the other side.
So maybe a door and a window, or, you know, a lot of the houses we look at have like a half glass door like you have in the front. Maybe something like that. Maybe separating the windows in the little dining area, which is the original cottage section that's left. Just giving some more shingle space to give it look like less glazing all together. Those are just some thoughts that I had. And I think everything else has been said by my cohorts.
So, through you, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to be clear to the applicant, I support all the comments Bill made, and to the extent they reflected our chairman's comments, I support those.
Okay.
Just so you know where you stand.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think some good feedback.
And Stephen, you had requested, and I think it's probably a good idea, if you're able to do the
3D
panorama, you know, showing two houses, the 2 houses to the north and the 2 houses to the south, and yours in between.
Sure. And whether that's an image that has an inlay of your elevations, or it's just drawn elevations, I leave up to you.
Okay.
I just think it would be helpful to have that.
Yeah, happy to do that.
Okay, so.
Oh, and I have one other thing.
Go
If you
for
could
it.
consider a different color, that would probably go a long way as well.
Thank you.
So, may I make a motion to hold for revisions?
Sounds good. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Was it you who missed your?
Yes, he missed it.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It was the
It's a
sidewalk
good
that get him in.
restaurant town.
Oh, yeah, that was.
Sometimes the best experiences are in Nantucket when you miss the boat or the plane, so enjoy.
Now he has to drive back to
Well, probably
Boston.
have to drive back to Boston.
Okay.
if it's there.
11 o'clock at night.
Well, the traffic will be a little thinner.
That's true.
Oh, boy, yeah, you'll get
Thank
us
you,
ready for-
everyone.
All right, let's move along.
Let's look on the.
All right, so now we're on to 29 Center.
17 things. and we're-
Well, I can't believe.
Espresso martini.
That was super close.
I know.
Okay.
It was just the header.
Oh, yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
and then I.
Okay, let's,
Move along. It's
yeah,
your-
let's move along. Who's on this one?
That's Paul McLaughlin, Oliver Welch Dutra.
Paul McLaughlin, Oliver Welch Dutra.
Yep.
All right, there you go. Jesse's gone. Okay.
Well, thank you.
John.
We'll let you speak on the last one tonight. How's that sound?
Is, are you, how you
Actually,
read my mind?
number 18 has not yet been heard. So you
So
could
that's,
sit
so I
on
have to
that
stay
one.
until that.
You can go get a ham sandwich.
Would anybody like something?
A ham sandwich and a beet
You have to
tonic.
be home by now.
Okay.
Botticelli was offering chimney.
I'll take a chimney to go.
Meatball sub.
Chimney?
Let's make a deal. The chimney. We have a garage full of styrofoam chimneys we're trying to get rid of. Okay, so Matt,
So, Mr. Chair, so you had requested that we drop the header beam lower to actually reduce the verticality of the windows. So we've done that. We've actually changed the window configuration slightly to basically reduce the muntin or the mullions. Sorry.
go ahead, but I want to clarify something for you.
So we actually we're trying to widen the actual glass size, and we did that by making the units actually double hung, larger double hung. There are examples of them. The old, which is now at
the big wide double hugs.
Yeah, there's examples of them. So, but it actually by doing that allowed us to widen the glass size. One thing that you didn't ask for, but we drew, and it's an addition on the facade of the building, was a projecting hip. Just felt like we kind of needed it. It's this is the side elevation.
It looks good on the front, but on the side, it's kind of,
Yeah, and by the way, because we haven't considered it and we're close, I could always come back for it with some tweaks and whatnot if we felt that it was kind of a bad idea.
This is, you know, the little mall. Yeah, that little mall.
Yeah, oh, yeah, that big,
Beauty by the Sea was here, and the
An
coffee
interesting
place was here.
thing for it, we always come back for it, and it's a little bit more developed.
I think it looks. I think it's very appropriate.
I
Just
love
feel like,
that sun.
yeah, it you know, it refocuses you on the entries, those large facades.
maybe it's the
Yeah, because right now, you don't really go upstairs, do you?
No, it's a ramp. It's basically it's a non-compliant slope. So because we're doing so much work to the building, we have to comply with the regs. But we did. The good news is we're able to put in a 1 in 20 sloped ramp, and it'll look more like a landscape element. We have a subsequent landscape plan coming in, but it just we didn't have to put in a full 1 in 12 ramp with side
That's
rails.
this, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah. So that doesn't require any handrails.
That's nice.
Yeah. I thought so.
What the hell? Where's my? I wrote it down.
I think it's you, John, me, and Val. I believe.
yeah. I actually take that back, Matt, because now what I think it does is it ties in like that was a porch that was filled in,
What's that?
the posts.
Oh, I see
Yeah.
what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah.
On the side elevation.
Yeah.
This, from the south and stuff, you can.
Yeah, the other thing, I don't even know why I'm saying this, but I wasn't asking to drop the header to reduce the height of the windows. It was just a pragmatic thing about clearing the column capital.
Correct, yeah.
Because the sash wouldn't work.
It was a twofer. I mean,
Yeah.
to that point, it wouldn't have worked.
Not to say that I object to what this is now, I mean, it looks fine. So, questions, comments, anyone?
I think it looks good, and I appreciate the windows being double hung.
Okay.
I like that.
Good. Very good. That's it?
Yep.
All right, Stephen?
Matt, I just want to clarify, you mentioned that the ramp was going to be part of the hardscape, so it'll be a full hardscape coming back. And then, do you need the ramp on this or no, for the building side? I'm just curious.
Yes, oh yeah.
So maybe if you want to differentiate that.
I would include the brick ramp, whatever's on the, I would include the ramp if I could, yeah, and the
Okay.
steps.
Okay, so that, I just wanted to make sure we were clear on
Yeah.
that. And then,
A little bit of gray area because it's brick.
the only question I have on the south elevation proposed is you do have rail here.
Yeah, I could continue that on that side.
I just wasn't sure. I mean, I understand the utility of it, but
Well, it's funny you say that because I was looking at this just before I got here and I was like, oof. And I was wondering, at one point I was wondering if the post, if the actual roof posts got extended out to that point.
Yeah.
Or, because definitely you could put a rail across here.
Yeah.
On the one side, on the left side, if you're looking at it, that's how if you need assistance, that's how you get it.
Are you talking about taking your new hip roof and moving it all the way out to here? That's like a porte cochere.
Yeah.
It's like you're entering a country club.
Yeah, and I'm not suggesting that.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if that rail can be tied in.
It could be tied in on the one side, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You
On the
can't
side.
tie it in on the ramp side.
Right, you can't tie it on the ramp side,
But you
but
can on the other side.
right, and then you'll have three-dimensional context, and it will make perfect sense that it's that
It'll
way.
be engaged.
So I'm cool with that. I think that's appropriate. I think it would be appropriate, given that ties into the ramp, to include the ramp and the brick as if this were to get approved. I do appreciate the changes with respect to the porch double hungs and the fascia you've been able to incorporate and address your baluster your column heads. So, I mean, for me, it's another one in the books for Matt.
Team
Okay,
effort.
with a small modification.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
John?
Yeah, I made a comment the last time about the triple deck stairs. Zing, 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 you know, but as I say, it's not gonna be visible with the building around
Oh,
it.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
right.
completely blocked, but otherwise, that's it.
Good to
No
go?
comment.
All right, so it sounds like, am I correct in thinking that the only modification to what Matt has submitted would be to have a rail that engages the freestanding rail by the steps back to the little portico column? Is that?
I believe so.
No, it's a hip.
Can mark it up on a plan if you want.
Steve?
Make a.
Yes, sir. I
So
agree.
You just want to
I
engage
think,
that?
yeah, Matt did so it's shown in blue.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so can somebody give me a motion that would include that refinement?
So moved.
Thank you. John's motion is to approve this as submitted, adding the railing that will connect the freestanding rail at the stair back to the portico.
Per exhibit A.
Per exhibit A. All those in favor of John's motion?
Aye.
Very good. Thank you.
Very much.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay, Atlantic.
Go enjoy your son's party.
They're probably out in the moor somewhere now.
Just head straight out to 40th Hall. Welcome. See, I think that's the first time I had a chance to say that tonight.
It is,
To somebody else.
Did I?
No, not tonight.
I don't think so.
I think you said it facetiously at some point.
I would never do such a thing. So out of character.
Oh, come on.
13 on the way.
I need to take a
Bless you.
Wow.
John tried to scare the sneeze out of you.
Yeah.
Are you leaving?
This is the second
Are you
one.
leaving or just
No,
ready
just
to
one.
vote?
Yeah.
Two last week.
Already had, yeah.
Second passed?
Bill,
You don't
Wow.
see
your
lollipops
motion
very
on
often
that
anymore.
included the ramp and the
Don't see
brick of the ramp.
lollipops very often anymore.
John
Okay.
brings me
I mean, did it?
Oh, he
I
does.
didn't
that-
make the
well,
motion,
actually,
did I?
Oh, who made the motion?
I thought you did.
One at the beginning, one
What
towards the end.
motion?
Who made the motion on Matt's project that was, I get confused about the address because it's used.
Oh, is that where they come from?
Baskets full of them.
Center Street?
John goes in there.
Yeah.
John.
The one we just
John.
did was
John
yeah.
McLaughlin
There you
made
go.
the motion.
There you
I
go.
just, I don't know, we discussed at the table that the ramp and the brick of the ramp was included in what he had submitted, but did that need to be clarified in the motion?
He's gone. I thought he said it was gonna be under a separate hardscape.
Well, I asked him afterwards if he needed it for the building department, he said yes, and I said, so we'll consider the ramp and the brick of the ramp as part of this application.
Okay,
wanna
well,
make sure
But I just wanted.
I am fine with that. Let's see, Val, are you fine with that?
Yep.
John's gonna be fine with that.
I just wasn't sure if having discussed it at the table was enough or needed to be included in the motion.
I think we're fine. Okay. Yeah, it did show up.
Now it's-
Okay, so.
Lindsay Congleton, and
Yep.
this is,
I'm Bob Doyster,
Doyster,
the owner of the property.
Hi there.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, how are you?
I'm getting there.
Hopefully this is an easy one.
So
They
we
all start
haven't
that
made, we
They all
haven't-
start that way?
We haven't made any revisions because we'd like to argue a point for keeping this structure with the exception of we'd be willing to back off of the white trim. to
Oh, yeah, that
natural-
inside, right.
More to a natural wet to weather.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
The issue was the fact that, like, that, because there's no sides, that the white wall would be very,
Ridiculous.
But that could be natural. We're not
okay.
hung up about that.
Because it is a small structure. It's 8 by 14, and it's, you know, from Monomoy Road, it's completely hidden from the garage, by the garage. I mean, the only place, to Val's point, that you might have a glimpse of it is from Sandwich Road, but the
Because it's right
portion.
near the road.
Right, but we're planting evergreen trees as per the conditions of the pool approval to screen from any public way. So with that approval, if you can't see the pool, you wouldn't see the structure.
Right. John, did I already ask you what the board is on this?
I don't think so.
Could you let me know?
Sure. Pohl, Coombs, McLaughlin, Oliver, and now Welch.
I am on it.
You are now.
Okay. So, Val.
Could
I think it's better
Oh.
that the wall is.
Hang on. Did
Could
you
I
want
just
to-
make a couple of comments?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, the drawing does, I mean, the sort of the layout of the pool, it's a very small pool. This is what I know you can't see this very well, this is what the house looks like next to it.
Mhm.
And one of the reasons for proposing this type of design was because the house has sweeping decks all the way around the front that have the appearance of hip roof when you see it on either end.
Mhm.
We were trying to carry over to the pool, which you could see from the side elevation, just something that looks similar to the roof structure that we had on the first floor. And it
I
isn't.
don't think anyone had any objection. I don't want to
Oh,
speak necessarily. Did we have an objection to the hip
I
roof?
think you guys had yeah. I mean, if you don't now, I'm happy.
All right. Well, thank you for
You
clarifying.
know, it
that.
ties. We
All right.
thought it would tie in perfectly with the way the
Well,
house structure was.
What the difference though is that the porch roof is a 4 pitch or a 5 pitch, which is a low pitch, and this is a 12.
Ah, all right. Good point.
And this has double posts, and I'm not sure, does the house have double posts?
Yeah, well, in front we have once again, I apologize, you can't see this, but I'm happy to pass it around. The front of the house has the entryway. They're not as close together, but they are double posts. And we were just trying to be consistent, but if double posts are an issue,
I think that because it's an open structure with just one wall, simple is better. For me, that might not be my cohorts here. Thank you for not painting the inside white. That really helps.
Could I add one other comment? The reason my wife wanted double posts because we thought that would be appropriate at some point to have some sort of foliage growing up the posts, and we could put a little bit of lattice work in between. But it's not a
So Val's just expressed her
That's right.
concern, if you even want to label it as a concern.
And I think if you could change the pitch to something lower, even if
That's
it's
actually a really super point. Okay, was that it, Val?
That's my comment.
All right. Diane, you're on this.
Yes, I am. I agree with what Val said about the single posts. They can, if they want to plant something up, the posts are not very easy to grow something up, so you could.
I wanted to do that.
Yeah, you could put the trellis in between. It's just we are trying to keep that building as light as possible, and so that's what I say to them.
Okay, and where were you on the roof pitch thing?
The roof pitch should be in more.
Shallower, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. Stephen?
Yeah, I agree with Dale's comments. Roof pitch, I would suggest that be no more than a 9, preferably a 6. I think 4 is what you said was on the house.
I don't know. That's usually what a porch is.
4 would be really super shallow.
Right.
Yeah. So I think a 6 might be the most appropriate. I kind of personally think the idea of if the double posts are there that on the main house, that they could be here with a lattice panel in between. I mean, if you use like a 6x6 grid lattice there, it doesn't get too busy. It could just be centered in between the space and you're good to go. And then I guess the other question I have is, what is the visibility of this from the street when you're finished?
0.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I agree that I think white is stark and, maybe come back later. It's not like you got to rebuild it, but a coat of white paint on natural materials. And we could, at that point, maybe look at it as it's approved subject to, not visible at the time of inspection and thereafter.
Yeah.
But for now, I would say natural for sure.
Okay. Thanks, Stephen. John?
Is that including the posts? Or the posts could
I would say double post, but with lattice. Do you think the lattice would be okay?
You know what? I'm okay with the lattice.
You got to paint.
So you're okay with double post with lattice?
Yeah.
If there's lattice in between.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the
Painted white.
the
yeah.
wall would not be
I
like,
just-
though.
It was just
No,
such,
but
it
the
was just
pole-
that controversial.
The post should be white with
Yeah,
the lattice
correct,
in
yeah.
between them. I don't know if he called it that.
I'm sorry.
He hasn't yet, but we're going to get there. John?
Yeah, there's one of these in Cuba.
Are you doing
I
an
saw it.
exhibit?
No.
It's a
You know, if you were in Cuba, you were there illegally.
Get this thing out of here.
Yeah, it's
I got a
Architectural.
open air structure in my backyard.
Okay.
Number of grass.
go for it.
That's my comment.
All right, I like that comment. Okay, so I agree that for the sake of safety, we should keep that back wall natural for now. And if it's not visible, then we can look at it again or not look at it, as the case may be. The roof pitch needs to come down. 12 and 12 is very steep. I think that 6 or 7 and 12 is usually what a freestanding hip roof would be. So I'd really want to see that. I think that the idea of having the double posts with lattice in between is a charming detail. And I think for some reason adding the lattice in between the posts reduces the sort of level of formality.
So
of the
what
whole
color
thing.
do you want to paint them?
The post should be white, I
Yeah,
think, like the
that's-
house. The lattice probably wants to be natural if you're planning on growing anything, because you can't paint it once the
No, it would be.
Yeah. So, what do you think, guys? Should we go for
Through staff.
Yeah, through staff. We'll
Exhibit
stick
A.
with the double posts. Put some lattice in between, natural to weather. Reduce the roof pitch to 6 and 12. And for now, we'll keep the inside batten surface natural to weather. I believe that was it, right?
Yeah,
For Exhibit A.
So that's Val's motion, and there's Exhibit A.
Okay, Val has made a motion per Exhibit A. All those in favor of Val's
Aye.
motion? Aye.
Good with landscaper business?
No.
He's good.
He's the landscaper. Thank you very much.
Was that what he does?
Yes, he does. Thank you.
Thanks.
The lattice between the
Okay.
and the
Oh,
shiplap
yeah,
wall.
one more. Sunset Ridge Lane.
John,
This
that
had to
Exhibit
do
A
with the
actually goes with
retainage.
this sheet.
Yeah, I think that you guys wanted to see pictures, so we dropped off some photos of what it looked like. I think Val wanted to see it.
I went out there
Yeah.
and got stuck between two landscape trucks.
It's a very, not one of mine.
No, it wasn't sunshine gardening, but it
You know-
was, that street is so narrow,
Yeah.
a fire truck would never get in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, I know.
I remember being out there in a Jeep, and I got almost stuck with it behind a trash truck.
Can I have a board on this one?
Sure.
What I didn't see though, Lindsay, was any arbors
So sitting is
Arbor's grand.
on the
excuse
street.
me, Paul, Coombs, McLaughlin, Oliver, and Welch.
Across the street.
Very good. Okay, Lindsay, hit us.
So, I think you guys had just wanted to go and view it and take a look at it. So, I think some people had.
Are there
concerns, some others
photographs
didn't.
circulating around?
Yeah, they're right
Oh,
around.
yeah, here we go.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is the retainage, the stone portion, what's the maximum height?
It looks like it's less than
Very-
2 feet.
It's less than 2 feet.
Very good question.
So I would suggest that we,
There's a top of wall and bottom of wall on the site plan.
you know, I couldn't make it out. It looks, they're so close together.
Yeah, David.
Did I see a TO?
David Barton put them together, and it's kind of hard to read, but you can see the elevations.
Okay, the only reason I asked, I saw those, but it doesn't say toe bow, so I wasn't quite sure
Oh, I got
which
you.
was what.
Yep.
So as opposed to having to wonder, I figured we would just put a maximum on that wall, and then
It's a good way to cover it.
yeah, we don't have to. You don't have to try and add
I would
more to
say
this
max
tiny
of
plan.
2 feet. It's probably closer to 18 inches, I'd say. At the
But
highest point.
when it comes out to the street, it's gonna be 0.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So and it runs into that PT wall that we've got kind of coming across.
Yeah.
That you can't really see from the road, but it's holding up the privet.
And it looks like they have in real life 2 driveways.
No, that other driveway per the plan is going to go away.
Okay.
So they're only going
Yeah.
to keep the driveway, the garage one.
What about the cap that you got on that retaining wall over
The
there?
bluestone cap.
Bluestone cap, we don't do caps. We try not to.
So we can just do a natural cap.
Yeah.
There we go.
I think
Thank
that's
you,
probably
Diane.
good, because I don't recall any of them having caps.
Yeah, I think in that area.
We're,
that
we're, we're
makes a
trying to
lot of sense.
enforce that. I mean, it's much more informal,
It's supposed to be one of those things that
certainly for
we do
Swansea.
everywhere, is
All
no
right,
caps on
let's move it.
trees.
Oh,
You guys have a consensus?
well, John has made a motion, but it sounds like we're gonna make a motion that it would include 2 things, John, if you don't mind. One is no cap on the stone wall. And 2 is, Stephen, are you comfortable with 2 feet max?
I
What are
think.
you- What are you comfortable with?
If it's, yeah,
Can I point out something to you?
Please.
As I was just out there, what's deceiving is it's not a freestanding 2-foot wall where it's going down in the yard, so the 2 feet is actually facing the house.
Right.
right. It's on the inside.
Inside, yeah.
So 2 feet is fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 feet
So-
on what?
2 feet
Maximum height of the retaining wall.
Okay,
So John's motion is to approve this application with no cap on the retaining wall and a maximum height of the retaining wall of 2 feet. All those in favor of
Aye.
John's motion?
Aye.
Okay, very good. Okay, where's Abby?
What?
Abby,
Right here.
where are you?
Right here.
Abby's gonna be on
Wake
here.
her up, shake her.
I know.
Okay.
She's still on Grecian
For letting
time.
me come on an old business day.
Welcome.
Oh, I see. This is new business.
It is, because when I turned it in, we're just over 1,000 square feet, and I forgot the abutters, and when I turned it in, they didn't catch it, and so I got the abutters in 24 hours late. And so to give the neighbors enough time to complain.
It's a kinder, gentler. All right.
So this is out in Tom Nevers,
Yep.
on Kendrick. It's completely non-visible from the road.
Hey, John.
That's John's
Did you
favorite.
hear what she said? Not visible.
You gotta go view it. When they say that, you gotta go view it.
You can.
But how can you view it if
the
it's
main
not
house
visible?
is like the main house. We did a bunch of work on in the past couple of years, and that was completely was determined to be non-visible.
So
too,
there's
and this is
already
even-
there's already a main house.
Yeah. So that's the main house, and this is a guest house.
Okay.
So
And
it's
the
not-
main house is invisible.
The main house
Do you
was.
have any pictures, Sana, of the existing?
It is right here. Is the property.
Thank you.
I do not have pictures of.
Excuse me.
Well, it's just because
Yeah.
it's nice to see how it fits in with
Yeah.
what's there. But
Yeah, it's actually so it's further back from the road and more in the scrub brush than the main house is, but.
Sana, can you drum up some controversy because Abby doesn't want to sit on an application that she's not allowed to have some controversy.
There's some new sidewalk.
Oh, God.
There's no sidewalk on this. Not touching the
Even
sidewalk.
worse, absolutely no sidewalk.
ever again.
Neither, believe me.
Hey, Sana, I have a question for you. So the garage doors, they're
Yes.
overhead garage doors, right?
The one on the right is, and the one on the left is more carriage, because if you look inside,
Can I just tell you something?
yeah.
I don't know whether you've ever experienced this, but this top piece can't be any more than 30 inches. I
Okay.
mean, just practically speaking.
Oh, for
They can't make it.
Okay.
It won't make the bend. So,
I'm happy to make those smaller. It's not a problem.
yeah.
We can do a 6 light up there.
Well, again, understanding that this is all invisible, so I shouldn't be saying any of this. It would be nice if those panes were vertical
yeah.
in
Okay.
format rather than horizontal.
Okay.
And how you get to that is kind of up to you, but I would check out the size of the door thing.
Okay.
Helicopters love New York.
Not all of them. Wow.
Yeah, the ones on the left are carriage because it kind of goes
yeah.
into a storage area. And so it's just a 1-car garage, but we liked the look of the
Yeah.
symmetry underneath the windows above. And
Let's see. I guess regular board is sitting on this. It's a new
I would say
application.
the only thing I see is the PVC downspout. Oh, it's box. Never mind.
Boxed in,
Yeah.
cedar, gutter painted white,
These
typical.
different sizes, I can't.
you,
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
I would
No,
motion to
they're the
approve it.
same size. 2 and 2.
Is this the same as that? This looks chubbier than.
A and A.
you know, we
No,
don't
they're
want
the
it
same.
white. I don't know how that got on there. We want it natural.
What's
Oh.
that?
The trim. It's natural trim. It's not white.
You're really
Oh.
not gonna see it. It's gonna look like a bunny rabbit out
and
there.
the sashes are the cobblestone. Is that what it says?
Yeah,
Right?
it says
yeah.
cobblestone.
Perfect.
What about
Yeah.
the gutters?
Natural.
Those are bright white. Okay.
Yeah, the main house is natural with cobblestone, so we just wanted to.
Okay, well, they have it cedar trim painted white.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm
Strike
sorry.
that.
That was probably just.
So we'll need to modify those drawings just so that you
Yep.
don't get snagged up.
Okay. I'm sorry.
All right.
I have no problem with this cute design.
Comment. I have one comment. The brackets.
Yes.
Get away from the arches and make them 45.
Okay.
All right. So it sounds like we can have an approval with this if we do vertical format for the windows and the garage doors, straight brackets,
Yeah.
And confirmation that it's natural trim as opposed to painted white trim.
So moved.
Anything else? Okay,
What
so
was the first thing about the garage doors?
that the windows would be, the panes in the garage windows would be vertically formatted rather than horizontally formatted.
So is staff approval?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, so that was Abby's motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
There you
Muchas
go.
gracias.
Yeah. De nada.
Prego. De nada.
De nada.
De nada.
Buenas noches. Okay, everyone.
Comment.
Yes, sir.
To the staff, it's been a long, heavy night, but it's been a good one. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
There was more
Thank you.
controversy tonight than I sort of anticipated, but you know, that's the nature of the biz.
Been too old for this stuff.
Too old.
Too old for this stuff.
Look at the white hairs.
All right.
I had one question. Can anybody answer it?
I don't know.
When somebody was sitting here, I didn't look that way. But
Yeah.
Who was we?
Stephen asked
Boy,
that.
that took him and I.
That,
Who was we?
no,
Look,
it's,
Who is we? I wonder.
I want to be clear.
Okay.
I don't want to get into. I didn't do that to be vindictive or anything. I just
texted
no,
her.
I really
I think it's
appreciate
important to
that.
clarify the record because it's confusing to people when everyone is sitting at a table. We have an informal venue, and someone says "we." This is how we do it. It's very unclear to other people what the heck's going on. So
We call that the royals.
yes.
Yeah, I didn't hear that.
So
Two of us jumped up quick on that one. I tell ya.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, it's not.
Hey,
Motion to approve the minutes.
It's not gamesmanship.
Aye.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Jamie is on the
Hey,
way.
so listen, we can, I think, unless anyone objects, let's do,
Table it.
Yeah,
well,
burn it.
I mean,
Just
actually,
skip to this.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this, I didn't realize this when I got your email. I didn't realize that somebody had actually installed one of these. I thought you were just saying they sell them.
Oh, I don't
But
know if it's installed.
It is, somewhere on Orange Street, right?
Well, it's at Marine Home Center. It's the location of 138 Orange Street.
It's in front of their
oh.
landscape.
There's bigger ones at Marine Lumber.
I
This
get
is
it.
from Marine Lumber.
Yeah.
What
They're
you mean?
selling plastic sheds.
Tongue in cheek, I suggest you should have an approval just to put this in the parking lot on display.
Well, it would seem that that's where.
I
was
just
tongue in
wanted
cheek.
to bring it to somebody's attention so that we can let them know that
It's really heinous.
they can't just sell these.
They know, I don't know what's wrong with them. They know that.
Is there a new
Yeah,
person
so-
at the helm there?
No.
So what is the issue, that the colors aren't right?
No, it's plastic.
It's gray, the roof shingled. It's got clapboard.
It's
It's
a
got
3-tab
padded siding,
architectural.
carriage, 6 light carriage doors. We approve those all the time.
We'll be starting a precedent with a 2-door outhouse.
So it's an inappropriate mixture of architecture, I get
Maybe
it.
it's
Hey,
yeah, so it's a great plastic outhouse.
Motion to approve with the
I
carriage door
know,
windows being.
you know, I
friends
know
with him?
Mark Songer, who
Yeah.
sort of runs a show over there.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna tell him, like,
What's up, dude?
A, don't put this like in your front parking lot, and B, if you sell any of these, tell people that it's got to be like absolutely invisible, or we're gonna cite them.
I would, yeah. No,
Okay.
I wouldn't even give
I mean,
him
we can't tell him not to sell them.
Yeah, no, you're
But
right.
what we can do is we can say, you know, it's awful, and if you're promoting it as something that somebody can stick in their front yard, it's going to come back to them.
Well,
or
that's
you
why
or
it's
both.
right in front
No,
of the building.
Yeah, so I'm going to tell them to
Yeah.
move it into the back.
Well, having it in the front, almost in their parking lot, kind of denotes that this is something we
Acceptable.
always sell, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we
No,
have
seriously,
some standing
I
to say,
mean-
hey,
You're gonna
please
talk
don't
to
do
Mark
that.
about it?
Yeah, I will.
I'll make a motion to that because
Talk to
I
Mark.
like that guy. He's got a Scarface sort of. Yeah, I like him.
He's a nice guy.
He's reasonable, and like I've spoken to him about a number of HCC things, and he's responsive. Okay, so I will talk to Mark, and the rest we can.
I got an update on Vineyard Wind. It's very brief.
You do, okay.
I'm
then
gonna
fine,
time you
fine.
though.
So
Go.
it'll be less than a minute. So I received a letter today, John. I am on that list, but I appreciate you forwarding me the copy you received. I just want to let you guys know that BOEM, which is the Bureau of
Yes.
Ocean and Energy Management, is stating that it's required to close out its review toward Section 106 review toward the end of August. And that our efforts as a work group and under the auspices of the town to reach the point where the adverse effects can accurately be determined, to appropriately inform mitigation measures are ongoing. And I certainly encourage members to ask questions of me on anything that may or could be of concern to you, so that at a later date, there's not a question left unasked.
What's mitigating? What can we talk about?
Well, so the mitigation, what we submitted.
A stack of bills.
Yeah, what we submitted was in the letter that I submitted on behalf of the HDC, which included at least a couple $1 million. Well, I should have the information in front of me, but significant projects that help protect and manage the character of the National Historic Landmark. And they include maintenance and update of the guidebook, and various other initiatives, so I would just refer you to the letter. And I should also say that there are other efforts ongoing that will hopefully help us, by public citizens, that will hopefully help us to reach some type of a fair mitigation.
So when we're looking at the 700 windmills, we can feel good about.
Well, one of the things we've asked is that one of the things we're pursuing is that they actually remove them from view from the National Historic Landmark.
How can they do that?
That's up to them.
That's great. I mean, it's a great thing to request.
Yeah, I mean.
What about the harm to the whales? What's happening with them?
We're gonna just sue them.
We unfortunately don't. I mean, I love whales as much as the next guy or gal, but we don't, and I don't mean that facetiously, but we don't have any purview on the whales.
No, I know. That's why I have my group.
Is this little double outhouse, is that synthetic materials?
Wait,
Plastic?
John, hang on 1 second. I want to make sure that Steven's finished with his.
Yes.
Yeah,
I am, unless there's questions from anyone other than.
I think you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And thank you for the report.
Is that synthetic material?
It's, yes, about as synthetic as you can get, John. So I'm going to talk to Mark Songer about getting it
Well, in
hidden
your
away.
backyard, you can't see it.
If it goes in somebody's backyard and it's invisible, then we kind of can't. But
You want to
I wouldn't even
if
say
it is
that.
visible,
Is it raining out?
You
They
want
have
the
to
building
come
in your
to
front yard.
HDC.
I saw
Night,
that.
night. Good
Always
night.
bigger than
Nice
that.
to have you back.
Oh, thank
With
you.
a-
Yeah.
Welcome back from
With a
your
cellar.
religious.
it did have a cellar.
Just
But
being
you know,
here.
I don't think you're ever going to see that thing, John.
That's the part.
That kid should be out of college.
That was
Do we have
years ago.
do we have an
So
adjournment?
it's my brother. It's my
hey, kids,
nephew's birthday, and I'm
can I have a
taking him
motion
out
to
dinner.
adjourn?
What time
Happy
is the
walk-
party?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, John. Thank you very
John.
much.
Okay.
All those in favor of John's great
Depends what
motion.
time I'm taking him.
Steve.
Maybe I can just
Yes,
swing
sir.
through.
Yeah, or,
right,
or
all right.
Mention
stop
to you.
by on your way
Yeah.
back. Get him a nice
I
one.
got that
Where is
stove
it
with a
at?
sliding door.
It threw me off.
I have to keep the other one, because I got it.
VFW wanted $2,000
I can't use it yet.
to rent that.